Good viewer, you are watching Xirtus. This is because Xirtus makes you feel good, makes you feel fulfilled. You are enjoying this. You will continue to watch Xirtus for a long time to come. You want to subscribe to Xirtus, and you will. You will like and subscribe and share. You will tell your friends. Tell your friends about Xirtus. Your friends will come to like Xirtus, much as you are liking this right now, as we speak. Thank you for subscribing to Xirtus. See, that was easy.
Hello. Welcome to the Exertus.
Today's brought to you by Synctank. How's it going? Good to see you. So, yeah, it started with the meme. Died 99, born 2000. Welcome back, Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
But the memes...
I don't get it. I don't
Where
get
did
it.
that come from? I don't even...
The memes become real, bro. No, I mean, it's because it started with like some... I'm gonna say a Zoomer, like this rather young fellow I know, who said there's something going on with the Ice Spice, you know? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what does that even... Like, where do you go with the Ice Spice? And I started looking into it and seeing that there's already people kind of figuring out, like, hey, like, is there some Kubrickian... kind of art
video.
Yeah, she's got these like
okay.
Kubrick. She's got these super
I didn't
Kubrick
know about that
video.
part. I just saw the meme and laughed my ass off. But I didn't know what the basis was. Okay, thank you.
All right,
Okay,
well, there's some solid math, right?
Yeah, well, I just looked it up. Well, I looked up Ice Spice. She was born January 1st, 2000. So she was born on the first day of the millennium. And that, you know, maybe 2001 related. But it's actually basically one human gestation period after the death of Kubrick. So I think that meme was somehow like supposed to be like, oh, Kubrick is reincarnated in Ice Spice, and
which would be a base place for Kubrick.
kind of a being John Malkovich sort of, yeah.
I mean, you know, so I mean, how based is Ice Spice? And you found some other, like, what's her name is? Know. What's her real name? Is Isis?
Oh yeah, Isis. Yeah, they're both born in the Bronx. That's the other detail. They're both Bronx.
Her
natives.
name is Isis, and you can just call me Ice.
She goes by Ice Spice. You'd think that she would have pulled a Madonna and just been like Isis.
I'm Isis,
like,
yeah. It'll happen.
Isis.
Maybe she'll sell the Ice Spice personality, and then she'll just keep Isis, like Prince, the formerly spiced ice, like the melt. But Bikini Bottom, and then yeah, you said Brooklyn, so that's also interesting. Like this kind of like nuclear Bikini Bottom Brooklyn kind of vibe. What was the what's that show? You know, with the nuclear New York and all the kids, military base. Paranoid American, help me out, right? Stranger Things.
SpongeBob SquarePants. Oh,
that was Indiana.
Okay.
Is Stranger Things about Indiana? I thought it was supposed to be about. I thought it was supposed to be about the New York power plant or something like that. Right?
It's set. The first season at least set in it's Hawkins, Indiana. It's a fictional town, but it's Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's
based on Montauk, New York? But...
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah,
some Montauk
right,
stuff
right.
here.
The original name of the show was actually the Montauk Project.
There you go. See,
the original conception of it. Yeah.
So what's up with the Montauk Project? You think, like, because Kubrick, right? Like, you know, This
I
whole
love
era.
Well, you know, the thing with the Montauk project is that as I recall, at the beginning of the first book of the series, he makes the point, he makes the argument that much of this book is completely made up, and some of this book is real, and I'm not going to tell you which. And so I don't know, it's a good
Yeah,
selling
well, he
point.
says something like, I mean, it's more like this whole series is a magical working to like raise consciousness is the idea of it. And he's a former Scientologist, and he's got a lot of weird stories that kind of check out, but don't. And a lot of it seems to be clearly fictional, but probably based in some kind of reality.
Right.
So,
It's that classic thing where the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater because of all the stuff attached to it. Hollywood, Babylon, 12th Planet, you know.
My thought, I mean, there's like a link between like Montauk and Monarch and MKUltra and all these different sort of loosely related programs that some of which might be real, some of which are like disinfo. Like I feel like the Monarch thing is like, where did that really come from? I think it came from like Kathy O'Brien and that whole.
I think she's the first person to use
milieu.
it, and it wasn't until after she used it that other people started calling it that. But
I just remember at one point my parents tried to send me to a Monarch therapeutic boarding school. And so at very least I know that exists. And so be careful, kids. Like, don't let your parents send you to the Monarch School and Institute for Therapeutic Boarding, where they make you watch like flowers. They take flowers that are on like photo timeline, like what do you call it, stop motion of it, like blooming and wilting and dying and blooming and wilting, and they make you watch it for like 6 hours. You know what I mean?
Hey, Andreas,
orange.
Is that so? You guys, this won't mean anything to you guys, but is that place kitty corner to DJ's Market on Water? Was that Water?
No. These are out of state, dude. They like to take you to the Midwest or sometimes out of the country.
There's a place called a Monarch School.
Oh, there is that too. Yeah, but that one's a good one, isn't it? Isn't that a good school?
I'm sorry, I have to say something, and that's that. You know, somebody was shot behind our fence by the police. You remember that?
Man.
That guy shot a cop, and then they shot him with automatic weapons, and I had to bring my girlfriend to the floor. It was fucking terrifying. Yeah. And this is years ago, and I was tripping out because I was like, no one's saying on the news that happened in a Freemasonic parking lot.
Oh, that's true.
Right behind that Freemason place.
That's true.
Building is right next to the Monarch School.
Yeah, which I did the Wizard of Oz. I did a play there once.
Yeah,
I played the Oz Wizard.
Okay, dude. Yeah, I mean, it's not Paradise Park. It's not the fancy Mason place, but it's a small lodge that's there. Yeah.
I knew several teachers that worked at that Monarch School, and I never made that equation because it's been existent from before I was thinking about that. Because I was just thinking about butterflies and stuff. But it was kind of a very interesting, like Waldorfian, like kind of hippie, like into nature school. And they had a lot of the people I knew who were working there. I was like, man, the fact that people like me are part of this felt like Groucho Marx. You know, like I knew Maitland was doing, like the dude in the sarong who did Unix programming did their mainframe, so it just felt like very interesting.
They try to treat it as a school shooting, even though it wasn't students and it was police officers shooting somebody down. Well, because the thing was, the way that it was in the headlines was that it happened at a school parking lot, and it wasn't the school parking lot. The school parking lot was on the other side of the street. It was the Freemason parking lot. But good luck seeing them say that, because they know that'll raise some eyebrows.
You know what they used to say in the 50s? There was a slogan like, "Oh, that's so Mickey Mouse," you know. And I feel like that's where we're headed. It's like just like the reduction of Mickey Mouse. But also, is there a thought on that, because Steamboat Willie's about to be free, and we're gonna be hanging out with Steamboat Willie very soon. And I know you.
That already happened.
No,
that didn't already happen.
We have about 21 days, I think, or 28 days left, I think, or something like that. I forget what it is. It's like it's going to be either January 1st or into January. Just
weird, because I thought that was the joke on Colbert, why they had the mouse come out, because they like had somebody in the costume like, we can do this because there's no copyright now. It's
because Disney decided they're not going to fight for it. They've decided like they've got so much more money going on that they don't really care. So you're going to start, like, this is something that Paranoid American just showed, which is brilliant, by the way. This is like,
I wish this was mine. Someone just posted this, but yeah, it's basically Wolfenstein meets Mickey Mouse, and I already want to play it.
It's going to be amazing.
That looks awesome.
Yeah,
so it reminds me a little bit of Cuphead.
Yeah, Cuphead.
The future's going to be great. So like the mouse is free, and like I don't know. What about thoughts on Mickey Mouse? I was trying to pull up a Mickey Mouse.
Well, isn't it weird that Oh, Disney has Star Wars now, and there's that documentary, The People versus George Lucas, which I actually recommend, just so you know, because it's basically showing how Star Wars, the original Star Wars, kind of like is a loophole place where they're like, there's so much fan stuff around this that they don't touch it like they used to. But now Disney, I think that's not true for like Mandalorian stuff. That's just for the original series, right? Because it's kind of what they established. But it feels connected because Disney is such one of the biggest hard asses on copyright, and yet ironically they're also one of the people that like to steal their animations like pretty much verbatim from like sometimes foreign films and stuff. You know, there's like the White Tiger one with the Lion King, and I know that there's a bunch of examples,
particularly in the 80s and 90s. But yeah, I mean they did it more and more. When it started out, they were really innovative and they created a lot of technology, and I think that's kind of the sad thing about Steamboat Willie, right? Like he is from an era of innovation, and that's just something that they can't really try. They can't really move forward with innovation. That's not where they're going. They're constantly like, oh well, this sells. We have comic books. We'll sell movies about comic books, and it's going to take a little while before they really care about innovation again. I think it's going to be. But that's what corporations do. When a corporation gets that big, they're trying to figure out how they can hold on to what they have and how they can use what works. And so they're not really at that scale able to be innovative anymore. They can maybe own other companies that are and hope that they succeed. They can maybe make more risky investments in innovative products, but they kind of are stuck with what they have to do, which is like maintain legacy at that size.
Right.
Well, even like, but Warner Brothers is not even doing that. They're actively like deleting their legacy and taking things off, and so that's,
well, is that deleting or is that just hiding it? Because Walt Disney did say the best thing to do is to vault it. So. If you've a vault Disney and you wait 9 years, 10 years, then Bambi comes out again. It's like, oh, I haven't seen Bambi in a decade.
Yeah. They've been doing that,
right? Well, that's how they maintain copyright, even with books and stuff. They want that. That was one of the questionable things of why, beyond the obvious culture war stuff, why certain books were being changed, like Willy Wonka. I guess there's like examples where they've just taken books and they make these little shifts, and they say that it's for, you know, whatever woke progressives and whatever they want to say. But I've wondered if it's actually like more of a copyright issue because the book is falling into public domain, and if you have, you know, that publication, it's like renews the copyright somehow or something like that. I don't know if it does. I'm not.
I mean, it makes something new. So right, so like the new Mickey Mouse is not safe. It's only black and white Steamboat Willie that they're allowing.
Also, it's like all racist and stuff, so they don't want to disassociate themselves from it.
Right, so
history.
Tracy Twyman made the argument that just having 3 circles together, like that Disney technically owns that, and they use that against Deadmau5, the musician, where they actually Disney sued Deadmau5 for just using that, you know, basic composition, which is really also like the club, like in a playing card deck, like it turned the other way, you know, like it's just like you have 3 circles, you know, it's not exactly the club, but it's relatable. And she points out like the Mickey Mouse Club, and you know, you got this like, are you in the club, you know?
Well, Mickey, you said brought up Willy Wonka, and that's just one thing that is, because that movie's coming out, and it's WW. It's the reverse of MM, and there's something weird and occult going on with the reversal of M and W.
Okay, so Alex is writing a book basically, and there's some amazing shit that my housemate shared with me that he shared with him, and I don't want to put you on the spot where you have to share everything, because some of that's just mind blowing. But
yeah, wow, it can't really be shared this way. It's just something to read, but it's all concerned. Well, this thing that I'm writing is concerned with Willy Wonka, just as a sort of synchronistic matrix surrounding Willy Wonka and the movies, including some like secret movies that are kind of like Willy Wonka adjacent that people don't usually realize, like the movie Snowpiercer is actually a Willy Wonka sequel or something like that. There's a couple YouTube videos about the parallels, but
extremely strong argument. Extremely.
Yeah,
and I was like, when I first started watching, I thought, is this going to be one of those, you know, we're just recognizing some little correspondences and taking, but it was like, no, well, really, it was actually pretty solid.
Note for note, yeah, it's like set up, but it's much more like dark. Obviously, it's violent as shit hell, and which is sort of why I think he got the story of Willy Wonka. The original movie is really kind of dark, and obviously people know that, but they don't really really know
The
because
kids get rescued at the end, but you're thinking while you're reading it, that they're
right,
going through these
yeah, that
horrible
seemed like
things.
a
Yeah.
and you
In the book, they do get rescued in the end.
I
I
don't
don't
know about the
remember. Actually.
book. In the movie,
Well,
you
because in
see
the
him
movie they
live
don't.
in
No,
war.
well, in the remake they get rescued in the end.
In the original
In
movie,
Yeah,
the-
you
like
do you see him?
do we
when do
not?
you see them at the end of the original movie? No way. I've seen it too
I
many
don't think-
times.
maybe
I
not.
thought he says
You definitely
that-
do maybe
I
in
think
the
he
Tim
says in
Burton.
the paperwork or something like that everyone was sent home because they were disqualified.
Oh,
But-
maybe they indicate it, but in the
Yeah.
later movie they actually show them again, and the guy's like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
like taffy-fied and
Yeah,
stuff.
there's
and
like,
it's like
yeah, because the
but
special
it's
effect.
implied very much. You're absolutely right, and the whole "there's no earthly way of knowing
Yeah.
which direction we are going."
that whole thing.
Is the Grizzly Reaper mowing.
So
Yeah,
what
that's
I'm
fucking
I'm really
terrifying.
concerned that this Wonka movie coming out is not going to get that dark. It's going
Yeah.
to be this kind of shit, kind of sentimental, totally sentimental thing that completely misunderstands the fact that Willy Wonka is kind of evil or might
Dude.
be.
You know who worked in a chocolate factory? Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, well, that's interesting connection.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm gonna
it's
be
a-
imagining that Wonka's about that. That's what I'll
A
do.
deli too, by the way.
I didn't mean to laugh. Sorry.
Well,
Wonka's
Yeah.
a weird
Oh.
word, right? So like I don't know. I just want to do like if Wonk, WNK, like right. This is like a enzyme that is super important, right, for blood pressure. And without this, it leads people to not be able to think straight. Like you have people that have like their brain can't process the acids necessary to hold on to the chemicals that allow for memory generation, right? So I find that kind of random, but like just Wonk and just the idea of Wonka, yeah, because like Wonka bars, Wonka TV, Wonka Vision, Wonka everything like that. Like it seems like that's something that reoccurs. Yeah,
can't sugar. I mean, it's like all down to sugar and
sugar.
candy.
Oh man,
It
it
relates to
literally
cocaine
it
and
is the enzyme.
Coca-Cola and the whole kind of the thing, the engine of our whole society, really, in a way.
Yeah, and the
sugar.
royal family, right? So I was on a plane once, and I met this dude who worked for like the Royal Sugar Company. I was like flying, and he was like, so like they make all the money because like all the sodas around the world that didn't have corn syrup in them and everything else, it's all real sugar cane. Like that's owned by like so many plantations, right? In these Caribbean islands and all over the place, they're owned by the royal family.
And as far as a straight up Kubrick thing, you probably remember in the Tim Burton Willy Wonka movie, there's this when Mike TV he gets sent through into the TV.
It's
and
2001.
He gets put into 2001:
Oh,
Space
yeah.
Odyssey, but the monolith is a big Wonka bar, so a big chocolate bar. So that's pretty on the nose.
Yeah. So I have a question. When we were looking at ISIS, what's her name? I want to say Ice-T. What's her
Spice.
name?
Ice Spice.
Yeah.
It's
So
Ice Spice
that image
Kubrick.
that image that we were looking at, is that from the Barbie video with Nicki Minaj? Is that what that image is from? Is that because I thought I saw that video, but I didn't pick up on the 2001 reference. But because Barbie itself had all those two, it opens with the 2001 whole thing, which is very relatable to specifically what they chose for the part with Mike TV in the remake
Oh,
of Willy
right.
Wonka.
Yeah.
Did anyone
The
else-
intro to Barbie you're talking about.
So this is
Yeah, because
from...
she did the Barbie theme song with the one that's a play on the who did that originally?
Cool.
What group was that in the 80s? I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie.
Right. Yeah, but that one
Aqua,
wasn't
thank
that
you.
wasn't in the
Yeah,
movie.
of course.
the
Andreas
age of
Xirtus,
Aqua,
but-
bro. It's the age of... Are you serious?
It was. I don't remember.
I see a lot of the set as like clearly that style. Come on, it's the same floor.
Oh yeah.
But this isn't. Is this from her Barbie video?
This is from her music video. I don't know if it's from Barbie. I couldn't figure out the name of the video.
Okay, well she also did Barbie. I'm looking at 2001 connections.
Okay, that makes sense. Ice Spice Kubrick music video. Someone else is probably thinking this as well, right? Princess Diana. Come on.
Oh, what?
Come
Seriously?
on. Really?
Oh, that's thinking.
Oh, with the bow and the military
Bose.
bows.
Bozeman.
Bows.
Chadwick
Oh,
Boseman.
this is a lot.
Right,
happening.
and that relates to the comic that.
And remember, keep in mind that
Thomas is
she's
working
A
on.
megaphone.
keep in mind that this chick is born January 1st, 2000. Literally the first day of the new century, new millennium.
Oh, that's what it
new-
is. Oh,
She's
because
young,
Kubrick
bro.
died 666 days before January 1st, 2001.
Yeah, so she would have.
Bro.
That would have been her first birthday.
Right.
They
And
And, and
turned
as long as
one,
I'm saying
which
that, I
is
gotta
mom.
say that I got this from you. All right, did it come from your girlfriend? That it was 666 days after when Kubrick died. 666 days after Kasparov got beat by the computer built by IBM, which is each one letter removed from HAL.
Yep,
whole
that was
thing.
my like the last thing I published on
The
my
B.
blog was that Deep Blue Dreams. And Deep Blue, the
Deep Blue.
chess playing computer that's built by IBM to resemble the monolith.
Is this just for
yeah,
the father
defeated
bee,
Kasparov.
the honey father or the honey bee, right? Like this kind of idea here, Patron.
Isn't Cielo where Manson related? Cielo Drive?
We always pronounce that wrong. I pronounce that wrong, and people said in the comments last time that we had
Was
an
it
in-depth
Cello?
conversation.
CEO Drive.
What's the
Yeah.
But
correct
that's the
pronunciation of
exact
it?
same. That's the exact same word though, wasn't it? That was on that tequila bottle.
Probably.
Oh.
I think there's
Right
two
there, that's-
L's.
El Cielo. Yeah. Is it Cielo?
Isn't there two L's? or
No,
something?
it's one L. It's one L.
All right. Based. Okay, they're got a Manson connection. I'll take it.
Sky. Yeah. Sky Patron.
And wait, and so
SK.
this is Ice
SK.
Spice, and she's one of the Oompa Loompas in the new Wonka. How did we get here?
I forgot the Wonka thing. Just the Kubrick thing. That I don't know what the Wonka thing. But
This is actually Hasselwaffen.
Cotton
It's
candy.
Wonka wash spelled backwards.
Egyptian denim, indigo denim with like I don't know the priestly undergarments, and then the MKUltra dolls and everything. Who's the lady with her? Is that Nicki Minaj?
Is that a Valley of the Dolls
'Cause-
reference? You know that the Barbie Valley of the Dolls thing is so off the charts.
Nicki
Of course-
Minaj is the MKUltra pink wig with a megaphone, right? So she's got the megaphone. She's got the toy megaphone they're letting her speak, right? I don't know. It feels like.
Wait, that's weird. I'm picking up on something because, like, there's a whole thing with Malibu. I want to say Malibu Stacy, but I think that's The Simpsons. Malibu Barbie. How she
Barbie.
basically is Sharon Tate. Like, there's that whole thing. So you have Valley of the Dolls with Sharon Tate.
Little butterfly on her and her.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying there's something going on there. And then that you have Margot Robbie playing Sharon Tate in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then playing Barbie, right?
I feel bad because I haven't even listened to this song, and it's probably like got a whole other, like, it's probably got a metaphor in and of itself. The actual music.
Nicki Minaj was born December 8th, 1982. Isn't that your birthday?
Really,
David?
that's a year to the day after I was born.
Well, there you go. Just like Ice Spice was born 1 year after, or before 2001. Yeah.
Oh, and you know what? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah, actually,
today's the Virgin of Guadalupe Day. Happy Virgin of Guadalupe Day. Happy. Wait. Oh no, this is. I had some scary Santa Claus pictures that we should talk about at some point too.
Sorry.
But happy Virgin of Guadalupe Day. Psychic Terminators will eliminate suffering. Anything?
That's beautiful. Did you do the put these together with your
just
AI abilities?
I was just AIing this up a little earlier for the Immaculate Virgin of
It
Guadalupe.
reminds me of the old Rage. There was like an old Rage album that I think had a variant cover that had like the nuns with the guns.
Nuns with guns. Oh, that brings me back. Nuns can be violent, but that's okay, I think.
Blood nun.
Yeah, if you're post-Catholic feminism or post-feminist Catholicism, I don't know which direction that goes, but our Virgin of Guadalupe. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pivot. I didn't mean to pivot. Like, if you were still going to say something about your story,
that's actually exactly what I was going to talk about.
Great. Okay.
Because December 8th is the Feast of the Immaculate Conception.
Oh, okay.
And so that's interesting there for her to be born on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, right? And you were just yourself saying that you're looking at the gestation period from Kubrick's death, so to speak. So
yeah. And it's John Lennon was in 1980, and then you were in 81.
Yeah.
And then Nicki Minaj 82. So
yeah, and it's also Jim Morrison's birthday. So you will.
What about
he died the same day. Oh, really? Candyman. What was I just gonna say?
Jim Morrison died.
The day that Julian Assange was born. So.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good.
Oh, wasn't it? What was the date fellow experts, what was the date at the end of The Shining that's on the July? It's
July
the
4th.
July 4th ball. Oh yeah, he
1929.
died on July 3rd. They say.
Yeah,
Jim Morrison. Yeah.
71.
Right. But he's probably
Same
not
year as the
in
song.
Paris. That seems like unlikely. But
No,
okay.
he grew up and became Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. How about the how about okay, so the thing is also one of the things I wanted to bring all this up about why I'm so interested more and more, and I hope the audience starts to get it, is because of
Have
the
you heard that theory?
yeah. Have you know okay, we should almost just jump into that instead. Come on.
Well, we don't have to.
There's a couple reasons. The first time I ever considered that Rush Limbaugh might be Jim Morrison was when I found out how many like oxycodone he could eat in a day. Right? Do you guys know? The dude looks kind of like him. He's like super conservative, into the military. I mean, he's a Nietzschean. I mean, there's a lot of things where if I didn't see their face and I was just listening to them on the radio, I would have thought that they were the same. But
You know what? When he's okay, if the Jim Morrison quote of that some of the worst decisions of my life were haircuts. I don't know how he like
could have
went
not
from
said that
to being freaking, because you know that Rush Limbaugh has like the best haircut.
I mean, it seems like so believable in this weird way. Look at it! Look at it! Oh! Oh!
It's a
Jim Morrison is Rush Limbaugh! No, I'm just kidding. But is he? Because,
But
like,
is he?
I don't know. That's just, I can't help but wonder sometimes. It's not something I'm convinced against. But do you have thoughts before I...
I don't. I'm just like
it's similar to the Bill Hicks thing.
Bill Hicks.
I draw the line at Bill Hicks.
I do too,
that
but
one I give no credit.
Again, it's like I have this emotional attachment to Bill Hicks, so I don't want to give that up and admit that he's actually Alex Jones. So I don't really care about Jim Morrison being Rush Limbaugh. So I don't know, but it's a similar.
I do. I have to admit. I
know.
As big of a Rush Limbaugh fan as I am, it's that's a tough one.
I just want to see
The dissonance is out of control for me right now.
12-8-43.
If Bill Hicks and Alex Jones were the same person, it would legitimately be the best comedian on the face of the planet in all of history, better than Andy Kaufman times 100.
Oh,
like
shit.
Something that Andy Kaufman couldn't even pull off.
But what if Andy Kaufman is Donald Trump?
Yeah, bro.
He's the Tony Clifton character, man, all the way.
That's true. I just did the measuring of birthdays between Rush Limbaugh and Jim Morrison, and it's 2 days, 370 weeks. 2 days, 370.
Ooh.
2 days, 370, 237.
So, okay, this is why I wanted to say what I was going to say a minute ago, which is like, why do we care so much about the synchronicities? And there's a couple of thoughts here. One of the reasons I wanted to answer this is because I asked AI about the show, and AI was like, "Oh, well, Synctank with Andreas Xirtus, they cover things like this, and also because it's about synchronicity, science of synchronicity, role of synchronicity and creativity, synchronicity relationships, and all that other stuff." And so I was looking, and I've been obsessed with this for the last week or two, is Nima Arkhani Hamed's end of space-time work and what he's been doing with deep applied mathematics. And one of the things it led me to was, the rereading of Eugene Wigner's Unreasonable Effectiveness of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. And this is just like the most important paper that you can read, probably, because it just talks about how many equations exist that are mathematic, and you have to understand how math doesn't exist in the real world, right? We have no straight lines. But all of a sudden we're able to apply these, and we're finding patterns everywhere. And you find the same patterns being used over and over again. You can see like nabla squared is equal to the energy function of phi. And then that equation can give you the economy, the weather, the surface of a drum subwoofer moving, like how much it bends on a drum skin. The same formula can be applied over and over again. So we're constantly saying, well, I don't know what to do with this math. But then when we try to like figure out where we can place it, it just keeps fitting together over and over again. So is that something what we're seeing in synchronicity? Where we're just like, dang, this formula, let me just apply it. It's worked before. It seems to be that there's some primordial reason that there's structure that is following these, natural mathematical principles or whatever that means, relationship with it.
Yeah.
I'll throw,
actually, yeah.
Was
I'll
there
throw
a
an-
question at the end there?
Yeah.
I'll throw another one in there. The fast Fourier transforms, another really good example that is applied to everything from like old AM radios. This is how you can still make out the station even if there's all sorts of interference, but they also use this exact same principle for like neural net programming. So this is just another one of these like formulas that just happens to reveal this like greater system that applies to everything.
So how far do you take that though? Do you just, I mean, can you just literally apply and force anything to fit in a pattern then? You just, and are we manifesting this with Heisenberg uncertainty principle? Is it really just that the universe falls in line? Or is it that structure is just so logical that things are built on structure like a Mandelbrot algorithm?
Can I say my belief system on that?
Yeah.
Because it's not. This is kind of like what Max and Pi would say when it says restate my assumptions or whatever. So like I see it as like kind of like ship and water. Like they're different. They're different. So like the organizing principles that we see in nature are one thing. Our goings on and everything that we're building, anything that we manufacture, whether it's by the hand or by the mind or whatever, like that seems like it's another order, but that the two orders meet in kind of a mysterious way that's like hard for us to reconcile, probably because it goes against the way that we generally relate to things through a dualistic lens. So it's like it transcends the duality that's the interface that we're interacting with, and that the organizing principle actually meets our organization. So it's basically like right and left brain meeting through the corpus callosum, or where you say the medial points of the brain, the middle brain. And there's something like, I can't overstate though that there's something mysterious to that. There's something like dimensionally that we haven't arrived at quite yet. Like we're like, in terms of our own abilities and evolution, like we're not there. So we're like dogs watching
we still call things junk DNA or chaos. Yeah.
Or like the strong force or dark matter and all these things that we don't know what else could it be. So we kind of put some stand in there, just to like, as like a placeholder for the interim until we arrive at that. That's what it seems like to me. Like, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because biology has it's been less efficient using pure mathematics to explain biology, but we're getting closer with living math, like Mandelbrot math and everything. But even still, nature does things in ways that we don't anticipate or expect. And like you said, though, in infrastructure and the way things exist, we do see that. So we have to kind of wonder how much of it is just that we're manifesting Neoplatonic values. That is important. Alex,
And also, you gotta. Well, I was just thinking of like going back to Pythagoras, who taught that numbers are like living entities, living beings, and
like angels. Yeah.
And that's sort of the vibe I get when I'm doing this work with Crypto K and when we kind of. And I honestly, I've always wanted to like meet some kind of like really mathematically intensely minded person to like actually look at what's going on, and because it's. Or a probabilities expert or something to like just look at it to see like, is there something really obvious about this that I'm missing that's just that explains all this weird shit? I don't really believe that there would be, because it's way beyond one field.
Be careful, because Pythagoras drowned a dude for asking too much about math.
Yeah, but that dude ate beans and voted. You shouldn't eat beans.
No, you shouldn't. They're bad.
But I didn't think it was beans. I thought it was because he tried to point out that the square root of 1 was an irrational number, and Pythagoras was like, what was that scene from? Was it something about Mary? It's like no 5-minute abs. No, there can't be 4-minute abs. It was like one of those moments where
it's
like
7,
now he
baby.
had to kill that guy. Yeah,
7 little chipmunks sitting on a branch eating lots of sunflowers at my uncle's ranch. You know that old children's tale from the sea? 7.
But it's kind of interesting. Like, someone keeps bringing up Einstein on the show, and like a lot of people hate Einstein on our show, which is good, actually. I think we shouldn't have two people that just love Gandhi and Einstein all the time. That's boring. Mm-hmm. But when you think about the people that are surrounded with, a person who's not just a mathematician but a popularist, he's trying to popularize theories of other people, and other people will meet him, and then they'll try to input their ideas into his theory, right? So a major thing that did happen from getting Lemaire's quantum theory into Einstein was the introduction of non-Euclidean geometry, and non-Euclidean geometry made it possible for these theories of relativity to work. But again, we're not able to really explain these things. I mean, we're only able to explain them, not really put them into demonstrative practice. So that's a problem with quantum relativity. And it's led to people saying that things don't have to have reasons. Essentially, the multiverse we say exists because it's easier to say that there's probably other realities than it is to explain why this one works the way it does. And yet, when we keep finding the same patterns in this reality, so it kind of suggests that if something works, nature will use it again and again and again in different contexts, right? So I think that's the thing. It might be that there isn't a multiverse, and that the multiverse is a way of explaining away how divinely set this reality really is, right?
Sure.
Reason's an interesting word there, though. Like, what's the reason behind a platonic solid?
sp2 orbitals have a certain electrostatic of like a 42 degree to 39 degree axes, and so if there's an extra it becomes an sp3 orbital, so it can't hold. It's a certain amount of expected distance and spin, right? And I think that's the other thing. So when people say like, oh well, science has changed so much, we used to have 4 elements, but we talk about subatomic particles and we get back to this idea of like 4 subatomic elements that make up, you know, the mass that we refer to different particles as, then we're kind of back to Euclidean science. You know?
Totally. Well, this kind of feels like it's relatable to something that came up the other day on X or whatever, where somebody was showing the pancake galaxy. Who's that guy? The quote unquote scientist who's not really a scientist.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He just wrote a book on vaccine hesitancy or whatever. He's just like, wow, you're just the authority on everything, aren't you? But that guy was talking about the flat galaxy. And I came across that and I commented, and you commented me. I wanted to discuss this because I was like talking about galactic halos, that there's actually more stars in the surrounding sphere of a galaxy than there are in the central disk. They're just so spread out, supposedly. And I don't know how many...
What I find funny is, like, I've been doing flat universe videos for a long time, and what I've noticed is people get really upset if you don't make it a square. Like, if you make it look like a flat Earth, they get really upset. So if you make it look like this flat plane that's a square, then sciencey people are like, oh, that's great. But the truth is, it wouldn't be a freaking square. I'm sorry. There's no way that the universe is square.
Because it would have to expand equidistant, right?
Yeah, it's
right. But where's the space-time torque gonna come from if there's no twist? Like, that's the weird thing too. So,
but the circle has been squared, so it is square.
Okay, I like that. That's
what all the boxes are about, and Kubrick.
But it is an interesting logic that space-time foam is what he's using here, and space-time, as we should know by now from Nima Arkhani Hamed, is it's a generalization, right? It's a generalization that probably has to do with spin state, because we have quantum entanglement, so it seems like everything is probably maneuvering itself and connected to itself in ways that we're experiencing as space and equidistant to each other's arrangement of space spin. So we're calling that time, but space-time is not what we think it is at all. It's probably energy itself just moving slow enough to be seen. Right? Or maybe that is what we think it is, and then we're fine. But
right. Well, there's the argument that what we're relating to is solid, dense matter is zero. What is it? 0.000000 something, whatever. 4%. I don't know what it is, but it's like it's this tiniest fraction of what we're actually existing within, and that the space itself is not necessarily like. Language falls short because for something to exist, it has to stand out in space. So space cannot exist because it doesn't stand out. Even if you say it's living, you can't say it's a living thing. So that you know, yeah.
I want to read this quote. I think I might have even read it here before, but it's kind of my operating principle. It's from Philip K. Dick's Exegesis, and it sort of hits on all this. The key here is pattern and pattern recognition. Such a person is able to pattern, gestalt, and repattern rapidly, evidently experiencing a mercurial world. Out of the very many patterns, he might possibly one time hit on correctly perceived and interpreted authentic traces of objects and processes. Mimicking ultra TI, terrestrial intelligence, by a rapid flux of linking and relinking percepts and data bits, his gestalting could keep pace with the high velocity, shape-changing UTI, and this description of it sounds like a Joker god. He would literally see it and its secret life. So that's it. That's how I feel about Sync and Crypto K and the whole process, that there is like a knife edge of truth within it all, or something serious.
One of
and
the
real.
greatest books ever written. That is amazing. It's like, and it's funny, like if you read anything Philip K. Dick related, like it's if you read this book, everything is so imbued, because you could see what even his best works of fiction, you can see what the massive amounts of thought that's going into these little stories. It's like it's something else.
Yeah, he was a great genius. Super relevant still. Philip K. Dick and Charles Fort I think would be my two. I think they're very similar. They aren't often compared, but they are.
Charles Fort.
Yeah, you know him. He was what do you call him? The Fortean Society, Fortean events and odysseys and stuff. So he invented FORT. He was basically the guy who wrote about all of the strange phenomena, weird things falling from the sky, and just all this. The Book of the Damned is what his book, and it's called The Damned, or the Facts, Excluded Facts, and it's basically UFOs. He was like, and this is in the 20s, 30s, so he's like going to the old libraries and dusting through all these old newspapers looking for just bizarre reports and things. And it's really he was extremely skeptical about like scientism that was like prominent at the time. And he's great.
Scientism is interesting. That's another guy that I was going to think about. Is like, so in the Eugene Wigner paper, he quotes Bertrand Russell, right? And so Bertrand Russell's really interesting. There's a comic book about Bertrand Russell that is on archive.org for free called Logicomics, which Blake Lemoine, the AI Lambda whistleblower from Google, he sent me to look at. And I think this is really worth your time also, just talking about the deep application of mathematics and what's going on in the war and his life, essentially, and like leaving Warsaw and the building of mathematical theories and the misconceptions people had and his ideas of like modern conceptions, and really that mythology ended up being like more true on a quantum level, that like all of the secrets, like turtles all the way down, right, ends up being true in terms of quantum physics and string theory and everything.
You said him leaving Warsaw?
I think so. Is that not right?
No, is that, I don't know. I'm not familiar. So I'm just, is that,
or
is
somebody,
that the deal?
I don't know. At the beginning there, I see somebody going from Warsaw. I hope you enjoyed the book. Story begins in September 1939. The Panzer tanks, World War has begun. Resistance crumbles. Superior force, propaganda. Listen.
Oh, you see that?
Because he's in Britain, right? And so he has to talk about, like, as propaganda is like happening, World War II is breaking out, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Interesting.
Still, important book. I think you guys should check that one out. That one's pretty sweet. Bertrand Russell's pretty interesting. Just talking about logician mathematics, because if you can't test it, then is it true? So the more that they can test it, like, that seems like it's true, because we're like, wow, we find this pattern over and over again, but does testing it and seeing that it's true mean it's true? Could we be missing something and just thinking that, these patterns are emerging because we've built so much other uniformity into the system?
I'd say more yes than no. Like, if you can test something and prove that it exists, that is, in my opinion, that's more proof that something exists than someone that just says, I got a real strong feeling that this is true. We can't test it. You can't test it. I can't test it. But I'm pretty sure it's true. Like, I usually don't trust that person, and I'll trust the person.
Especially if they get really emotional about it.
Yeah, I just feel like there's ways that can go wrong. Like, you could say, like, you've got a golden goose and it can fly, and you're saying, well, inside of the geese, when they die, we're able to see there's gases, right? So the gases are probably what's lifting it. And you're like, well, that might be true, but it probably isn't. It could be the wings flapping. It's like, well, that doesn't make as much sense to us as the gas. So we're going to have to, like, take it apart alive in order to see if the gases are enough, to like outweigh this, like, this bird. I don't know. I feel like science constantly is being misused that way, where we create hypothetical syllogisms that are, hey, every single time, like.
I've got another quote.
I want a
quote for
goose
you.
to lay golden eggs for Easter.
Right. Yeah.
Another quote for you. It's a shorter one. This is John von Neumann. With 4 parameters, I can fit an elephant, and with 5, I can make him wiggle his trunk. And I apply that to my work with the 5 numbers, and so as being different parameters, and a lot of it is kind of map building or building like a sculpture, where you just kind of have to have your limited materials, and your mind takes over, and you can build something. And true art, and it'll be true or not, it's going to connect with what is real. So you got to look at things in a nonlinear perspective, and that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Sebastian Bubek's unicorn that he produced at OpenAI through Microsoft? So Sebastian's, let me go down the page here. So he created this with a language model. So we had a language model that can't draw or anything, and he taught it how to draw. He's like, draw me a picture of a unicorn. So, and do it using like math, programming, geometry, like those 1980s like CAD program style, TKZ kind of style imagery. So, but what it did was pretty interesting, because it studied everything it knew from like writings about a unicorn. And then it created this, and you can see it's got a horn, it's got a tail, it's got legs, right? And so it's pretty interesting, because it's not designed to be like an image creator, but it's figured out like the geometry in order to represent what it's heard about a unicorn being,
I mean, it looks just like a unicorn to me. I don't know.
I see a pigaloo, but
still,
I see the unicorn. I can immediately get what it's trying to do.
Well, it's a little yellow little triangle at the end there. It's really the indicator, right?
Definitely looks like a pig.
Yeah, but both. I think what you don't realize, Alex, is that pig unicorns were the thing. They didn't look like horses.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They're like boars. They're just giant, beautiful boars. That was the.
They're actually, if we're gonna go there though, it was goats. It was a trick you can do with the goats, where you reshape their heads when they're young, and you can actually twist their horns into a single horn. It's a whole thing. And
that's what the Germans say. Yeah.
Yeah, Barnum and Bailey like went around and showed it off for a while, and there's special goat unicorn. And I think that's why with Capricorn, the sea goat, it would often have like a fish tail, but it was a unicorn goat. Like that was like the old representation of Capricorn. Yeah.
How about 613? The number 613. Anything? So. Just for preface for the audience, 613's come up recently a lot to me. I'll start with the Gil-Gul thing we talk about, which is the Kabbalic reincarnation, transmigration of the souls. In the Hebrew Kabbalah, Gil-Gul means cycle or wheel. Neshama means plural for souls. And the idea that there's 613 cycles, which corresponds with 613 commandments, which corresponds with 613 parts of the body. Here are the laws there, but the 248 positive precepts, 365 prohibitions, 248 organs, 365 sinews, 248 limbs, and 248 positive precepts. Just this idea that there's 613 parts of the body from a metaphysical Kabbalistic perspective, but that also there's 613 laws, right? And the 613 laws are just like, know God exists, love God, Torah. There's another set here. This is about 613 laws altogether that you're supposed to follow, including like knowing what you do about prophecy and paying taxes and tithings and all that other stuff. What do you think about 613? Why is it 613?
Well, for me, it's one more than 612, which is 153 times 4. So you could divide it, and you could say it's 153 and a quarter times 4 is 613. And 153 is just all over the Bible. So it's just like deeply, deeply programmed in there. So that could be one reason. That's the only thing that really stands out about immediately in terms of my little system. but I'm sure there's someone else that has an idea.
You said 153 times 4?
Yeah, 153 1/4 times 4 would be the 613. Which is kind of interesting because it relates to time and like the way the clock is set up into quarters, and also the leap year system on the calendar is based on 4 years, and that's also calibrated to like 237 and 153 also on the clock face. So yeah, maybe that's
pretty interesting.
I don't know why those people brought it out, but
well, I could see that being a thing though, like a kind of quaternity or something like that, quarter and a 4, just to make sure it's like the quarter.
Yeah, I mean 153 is just like I think Kenneth Grant even says like this is the most mysterious number that has ever existed or something like nobody can quite agree on why it is what it is, but it is like one of the most special, and it's related to the Vesica Piscis too, because it's the bottom, it's the denominator of the fraction that makes up the golden ratio. I think that's what it's called, or the Vesica Piscis, and it's 265 over 153. So they were talking about 248 and 365, which is the number of days in the year. So I'm just kind of making associations here, but
what was the number you came with first, Andreas, that you're asking about?
613.
613. Okay.
Yeah, because 613 is the number of laws, the number of commandments. There's 613 commandments.
Right.
People think
this is a random tangent. Does the little dash between G and D, does that workaround work? Like, is there a chance that you like get to the big guy and he's like, hey, great job and everything, but I saw this article you wrote, and on number 407 you forgot and you put an O between the G and the D. So that's gonna be, a few paddlings.
Is it blasphemy just to use the word that is derivative of Odin for the Tetragrammaton anyway, right? It probably shouldn't be that you're saying like dear Odin or like but people
dude, there's places in certain books in the New Testament where it actually apparently says Zeus, and instead of hell it says Hades and things like that. That was one of Blavatsky's big things. Like she was like, they literally like just translated it the same way as they would if you were looking at the Tetragrammaton in the Old Testament, but they just like Zeus, okay, God, whatever. I think maybe even the Book of Revelation. I have to check again, but or maybe it's one of the 3 Johns or whatever. But yeah, there's also places where these Greek terms show up for the gods.
If you look up 613 on Wikipedia, there's actually some good stuff on there, like about its place in the Torah, which is what you were bringing up earlier. But then also. This is weird. Some Jewish sources claim that there's a tradition that pomegranates have 613 seeds. So this is clearly symbolic, as there's no fixed number.
Oh yeah, well that's probably Pardes Remonim, like the Garden of Pomegranates from Ramak. It's like considered an authoritative Kabbalistic text from 16th century. But
it also says. In Kabbalah, the number 613 is very significant, with every complete entity being seen as being divisible into 613 parts. 613 parts to every sephira, 613 parts to each of the divine mitzvah in the Torah, and 613 parts to the human body. So.
If you go into the private chat, I got the Hebrew gematria for all biblical terms that have the value of 613 is there at the top. So looks like Avitar, Orot, Arti. I don't know how to say that. But anyway, no, I don't know what you want to do with that, but just it's worth looking at that, whatever the case. Yeah,
I looked up on Occult Decode for 613 too, and just a few of them that popped up, because 613 is not an easy number to derive in gematria, so I'm looking at Fibonacci, Latin, Sumerian, and primes, because those ones actually easily get into the 3 digits. But Zyklon B, Tommy Mottola, the Temple of Solomon, Teenage Euthanasia.
The Zyklon B is disturbing. Well, okay.
Penn State, Marshall Mathers.
I can barely bear it. Yeah.
And Brendan Fraser is also 613 in Fibonacci.
Oh God. Well.
Oh, have you guys seen Killers of the Flower Moon?
Blast from the
So
Past.
good.
Can you
That
only
was a good
imagine?
movie.
Blast
Not
from the
yet.
Past
I heard
is
I heard
337.
about Scottish Rite killers or something.
Oh, dude. Yeah, there's a good Freemason scene. You'll like it, Thomas. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
In Killers of the Flower Moon, you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. That was a really funny, weird scene.
I don't feel like I'll spoil it by saying it. It's basically that Leonardo DiCaprio gets spanked by Robert De Niro in like a Freemasonic hall, and he's like,
Oh,
I'm a
cool! The
32nd degree
17th
Freemason.
degree. They do the 17th degree on the screen. That's awesome.
And 17 was like the.
He's getting spanked. He's getting put in his place.
Was it
Bad boy.
the red diaper or the blue diaper? Because that usually differentiates between the Scottish and the York Rite.
You couldn't see the diaper.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
Use
okay,
the
now-
glove where they slap
613
OTO
is
then?
18 per size. It's called the 17 gonal, right?
And 17 is 153 adjacent because the first 17 digits add to 153.
Yeah. And 17 plus 1 is 18, which is the holy number for Hebrews. So 0, counting 0, 17 is got 18 value.
I didn't do great math, but I never heard of a sexy prime, and I feel like I might have paid more attention if I heard of that.
It's true. We should just call things sexy primes all the time. Yeah. Or like maybe like dirty denominators or something like that.
Well, that actually is oddly relatable. Like, so what is it? There's Optimus Prime and the Decepticons headed by, what is it? Megatron, which feels like it's obviously Metatron. I've talked about this before with you guys, but yeah, Noah, the movie Noah, Darren Aronofsky. I know I've talked to you about it, Alex, but yeah, the correspondence between Transformers and Noah is like ridiculous. In fact, the original Transformers movie and Noah, to me, in a weird way, I almost feel like they're the same movie. This really weird sense.
This reminds me of a question that came up recently, and I haven't found anyone that either takes it seriously or has like a reasonable answer on it. When the Watchers produced Nephilim, were any of the humans willing participants, or were they all unwilling participants?
No, why would they be unwilling?
Because I figured you can't say no to a Watcher.
There's a lot of humans that would be really into that.
So, what about the power dynamics? Doesn't the power dynamics mean that they wouldn't be able to consent because it's too much of an imbalance of power?
Definitely. But that doesn't mean that doesn't happen. And I think you got to watch like a million movies, probably like that geisha movie first. With the soldiers and the snake cave? Never mind. All right. What about 613?
Godzilla. We should talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
We should talk about Godzilla -1 because that's hilarious. Isn't it? It was called
great.
-1. Like this
Godzilla
like, they're like,
-1.
if we didn't make it clear enough that this is a numerological movie, here you go. We're gonna just tell you that it has to do with like zero as a number in this. I just also want to say like because you were
It's like G-1. They stylize it so it's like G-1 or -1. But
did they?
it's like I don't know, the G. Yeah,
Kind of is. It's got that.
sort
It's
of
the
big.
G super. Oh, it really kind of is, dude. It really is. So, all right, I want to go there. Before we do, I just want to cover everything on the 613. So, I just want to say, like, we were created. You mentioned 365 days goes into that. God's will, 7 rabbinical commandments, 620 is the crown value of Ketcher. So there's 2 more because of the 7. Yeah. All right, I'm good on that. So Godzilla.
Right, well, all the stuff we wrote in a sense kind of exists within Keter, and Keter actually meets Malkut and dimensionally, so interdimensionally, or however you want to say that.
Did somebody already do a Godzilla Sephiroth? Because I would really love it if there was a Godzilla Sephiroth. Oh, this is
should be
Godzilla
like
on
done
the
with
Sephiroth.
each of the movies is different station or whatever.
That would be sweet. Okay, but so Godzilla, and Godzuki. If you guys can remember, Godzuki was the, Godzilla, and Godzuki.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do the Rugrats one. What was the Rugrats one called?
Reptar.
Thank you.
Which is, you can't say that on TV anymore, but retarded. So wait, with the new Godzilla
Rugrats is
movie,
based.
I think we're all right to like give a synopsis because our idea of a spoiler is numerological. So do you guys want to try to run through the movie do it.
I saw it. I don't know if you guys did or what to even say, but it's really good and it's
everybody loves it. It's
kind of just it's not even the best movie ever. It's just like really good, and it's compared to everything in American cinema with regards to Godzilla, it's like the greatest movie ever. So
People saying
it's
you
just
care
like
about the
It's
characters.
not a very high bar. You got the
No.
Matthew Broderick one with all the Godzilla
That's
babies.
Hey, I
true.
love
They're
that
They're
one.
horrendous. I mean,
The French
Foreign
Foreign Legion, you know, you just
the
have to
one
never
with
mind.
Bryan Cranston
It's
where he
the
gets
Star
killed in
Wars
5 minutes.
prequels of the Godzilla franchise.
You just had to
Sure,
know the
yeah.
people who were there.
But this one is really good. It's like a basically a World War II sort of drama, and with Godzilla kind of in the background. But he's very much in the foreground too. But I don't know. But I guess I want to bring up sync-wise or whatever is that I also just saw the new Miyazaki movie, The Boy and the Heron.
Oh,
And so this is 2 examples of like Japanese cinema or films, Japanese produced films being like heavily actually finally broadcast in America. So I don't know what's up with that exactly. Yeah, like, and they're very similar kind of thoughts. Like this is a post-war drama. It's like reconstruct thing.
Super
That's such a great movie.
They got J.P. Morgan in there. That's crazy.
Oh, God.
can't believe they got away with this.
I think Robert Pattinson plays that guy in the American version.
Ooh.
But yeah, it's a lot about death and reaching the other side, and it's also this movie. If
Birds
you've
are
read
dragons and
there's a-
dinosaurs.
birds are like weird robots with like people inside them. But
Ace Ventura.
another Philip K. Dick essay, which everyone should read, is called "How to Build a Universe That Doesn't Fall Apart 3 Days Later," I think. And it's all about I don't even know what to say about it, but it's just all in that title, and that's very much what this is all about. It's just like
It's pretty funny because it's literally what this video is about. And I'm just like literally why the universe doesn't fall apart because of the amount of space in between things. I find that funny. Good
Yeah.
job, Philip K. Dick. Always ahead of the
that's
curve.
such a fucking great essay, one of my favorites ever. But
And
yeah,
it
I don't
even
know.
says Mickey Mouse right in it, so we know it's.
Oh yeah,
synchronicity.
Let's everyone stop
Deep.
right now. Let's give this guy a follow. Was it Philip K. Dick? Let's give this
Yeah.
guy a follow.
I've been following him for years.
People
What's
want us
that?
to talk about Leave the World Behind or whatever.
He's actually behind this account called Cryptocubrology. He's that's the rumor anyway.
But I feel like everybody online is already talking about it, and anything that we would say they've probably seen already.
That's
I don't know if you guys have seen the QR code that's on the screen. That I want to see if somebody figures out how to use that. That's on the map. So in the movie, when they show the blackout for a second, like they show
Which
you
movie?
that map of the
Sorry.
United States.
Bill
leave
and
the
Ted's
leave the
bogus.
world.
I was
behind?
thinking about like how we're gonna channel Philip K. Dick, but which movie were you saying?
Leave the world behind.
Leave the world behind. I got so sidetracked. Sorry.
It's all the buzz, right? But the
Oh
yeah, so it's-
yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, what's the reason?
Yeah, and so there, whatever. There's some creepy, weird stuff. It's produced by Barack and Michelle Obama,
It's got
and
Kevin
it's about
Bacon.
a cyber attack. So
They literally put Kevin Bacon in their Obama movie. That's just like that's math. Come on, that's synchronicity math on purpose. You know.
I did see someone pointed out that it spells ball on the front.
it
If you
does
start at the B in Roberts and just work your way down.
ball.
BAAL.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Bow. There you see it. BAAL right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
you'd be
I
all
thought it was a
over this
legitimately
already.
good movie. Although I have got the taste of like a toddler that orders chicken nuggets at a Mexican restaurant. But there were so many things in here that I saw after someone pointed it out to me. Like for example, the wallpaper has the sea level, and the sea level rises over time. And there was also a scene where like I guess a painting in the background started as like a more serene looking sine wave, and then like every time they go back to it, it's more and more distorted, almost like chaos is being introduced. I'm probably describing that wrong, but I didn't notice that until after I went back through. And yeah, sure enough, like this one painting in one of these rooms, it changes every time they show it.
I mean, that's pretty sweet. I do like Ethan Hawke from Gattaca. I only really like I lost Alex, sorry. I only really like Eric Roberts, so it's kind of going to be hard. But a man's got to love what he loves, but I don't know. I'll give it a shot.
I did not realize how many goddamn movies Julia Roberts' brother is in. I mean, I knew Star 80 and I knew like Inherent Vice for a second and all these things, but it's
Coca-Cola
like
Kid.
This
Coca-Cola
dude,
Kid is just such a.
I forgot we've discussed him already. Yeah, if you go,
I'll talk about him again. I don't mind. If you can do any math on Coca-Cola Kid or Eric Roberts, that is completely fine with me. Okay, I'll just say that right now.
I can't use my computer while streaming or else I get kicked out. So.
Oh, brutal. Okay, well, wait. Someone did. I did see in the chat. Someone did say Box Saga. So I guess we have to play Box Saga. Hold on a second. This is how this works now. Let's play some Box Saga. AI generated Box Saga. I'll put my other headphones so I can see what we do. Christmas Santa. Fuck. You better be good, boys and girls. All right, good job, everybody.
Were you skanking to that?
So hard, I bruised my big toe.
I'm sorry, Alex. I don't know if that's the kind of music you listen to normally, but
Bill is in the comments trying to say that John Travolta was going to play Philip K. Dick in a movie, and I was just thinking that people were saying that about Jim Carrey with Terrence McKenna and stuff. That's the other Bill. I don't think that that's real. But Bill, if you can hear me, if you could bring me a smoke, I'd really appreciate it.
Aw, sweet.
But anyway, wow, man, yeah.
I do want to do. There's another couple subjects before I get there. Actually, just because that came up, there's a song I wanted to play, and this could get us in a little bit more. Let's just say it.
I got those buttons, I got those
Oh!
You think you dodged the jab, you think
Paranoid American making the tracks. David laying lyrics down.
I got those antibodies, I got those spike proteins. You think you dodged the jab, you think your blood is clean. So now you lost your job and still have that bad vaccine. Cause I got those antibodies, I'm shedding spike protein. You thought
You
wrote it out.
I like where you went with that, because all I had was the hook. I was like, I got those antibodies, and it felt catchy, but better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, the direction I took it in is I was just imagining, like, I'm the asshole that's, like, reminding you that even though you got fired because you didn't get it and everything, like, I coughed on you, and guess what? Now you got it. And I just love, like, the like, non-caring attitude of, like...
Right. It took me a second. When I first was looking at the lyrics, I was like, wait. Oh, okay, no, I got it.
I sent my brother said my girlfriend told me that if they made her get it again, she gonna quit. She gonna just walk off the job. And then I was like, oh, and I sent him the song like right away because you just sent it to me like right then. Oh, it's so good though. I mean, like,
it's somebody asked, swallow my protein. No, it's shed. It's about viral shedding.
Yeah, bro.
Right?
Come on, bro.
Yeah, the lyrics are something like, you even lost your job, but it was all for a waste because I shed this spike protein on you.
I was working on a little bit of a Santana thing here. Let me just show you. I was like driving down the road and I just thought Matchbox 20, and then someone said Matchbox 20.
Dancing with the moon, a little bit, that insomniac. Lost in the quiet swoon, soaring nocturnal in the shadows, I find my way.
But the question was like,
When I wake,
can he like
magic
switch?
that holds sway. It's night to night, every night it seems, chasing after stars, weaving through midnight dreams.
It's very like,
El sol está saliendo, casi es amanecer.
then you're like, oh, anything in
Son
Spanish.
casi las 6 a.m., pero mi espíritu persiste en florecer. Las luces empiezan a brillar, el corazón de la ciudad late profundo, pero en los susurros silenciosos.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a night out.
It does feel like, yeah, it's pretty much. How about the Mexican pop though, right? Because everybody loves Mexican pop. That's the thing. Start with like a kid kind of thing. That chorus.
You got an earworm on your hands, my friend.
Yeah. Feels like Real Big Fish or something, man.
Yeah, just give it to the Disney company. That's what I keep hoping. Okay.
I want to just say something that Philip. Something it reminds me of when Philip K. Dick is describing his visionary experiences. And he's like, I just laid in bed and I had just art, just like every kind of art, just beamed into my head, you know. And I just think that, like, okay, that's sort of what we're doing here with the AI. It's just churning out this stuff, and it's interesting. That's all.
Yeah, I think that like it's
his life.
It's a virtualization or emulation, like so, like a physics engine. We can test to see what happens if this happens in real life without doing it and people getting hurt. And the same thing with showing people, hey, we can try this applied mathematics in art, and if it seems like good art to you, then that kind of proves that the math is good. Because if it was wrong, then it would be you wouldn't enjoy it. So it's also showing you how much you're looking for and listening for divine principles. You're like, oh yeah, this is what's supposed to happen.
And
here.
and just the idea that he would connect. He tapped that Valis is an AI of some kind, like a,
right,
or at least in it.
I think also like that concept of like the ego on this asshole, but apply that to all of humanity, because we're like. There's this concept of like, oh, it'll never get as good enough to, you know, compete with humans when it comes to art. And I just feel like we're so full of ourselves that we don't realize that it takes very little to impress our little pea-brained minds, right? It doesn't take someone to draw a perfect circle or prove a platonic solid to impress you. It might just be like a fart noise, or like someone does something just slightly better than mediocre, and it feels like it's this divine principle, but really it's just because we are all rubes and bumpkins.
Maybe. I feel like especially with the music we're making, it's showing that's not the case, because for the last 20 years people have been using Fruit Loops and making noises, and not everyone loves it. But all of a sudden, if you can train it on perfect circles and straight lines from algebraic math music like Mozart and things, all of a sudden music that comes out that you don't have a right to have an opinion about, because it's music, it's objectively music. It's like someone having an opinion about a math formula. Like now it's just a song. It's like it's not whether or not you like the song or not anymore, because you're literally just showing them like, here is the structure, and then here's the rising action, and here's the bridge and chorus, and if you follow all of the rules, now you've made something that's, you know, it's no longer subjective.
Right, though the overarching cycle tends to be one of like where something emerges and then it's everything for like a while, and then people start to want something that was the old, and then they tend to combine and turn it into this new thing. Vinyl records are selling more than they ever have by far.
Taylor Swift.
And why is that? It doesn't necessarily ultimately sound better from a technical standpoint, but people just want, like, books will sell too. It's like people are afraid that books will go away. No, books aren't going to go away. People are going to want to have books and hardback books and that physicality.
They should
and so
make
I think
books
that
smelling perfume and cologne. That'd be cool.
Right, but we take it to the extreme, and then we see from there, and it'll happen in different ways and different places. I think that's like the trans stuff. How long is it going to take? It's going to be at least one generation before, on a widespread, like, you know, consensus, people will feel that there's mutilation. You know, like that won't be a shocking way to put it after a certain point, because people will have gone through it enough. We need a time trial. So it's like, even with like AI, it feels like it's it is in the process of blowing up, and that could go on for who knows how many years. But there's going to come a point where people are like, oh, it's real music, oh wow, or no, but you know what I'm saying.
No,
like,
that's what
it'll go
my buddy,
full circle kind of thing.
I kind of made my friend Kurt, I was like, you got to go to Argentina. And he's like, yeah. And then he actually did. So now I'm jealous because he's actually in Argentina. And while he's down there, I'm like, just grab a guitar because he can play guitar. And I'm sending him music and like, just learn how to play this song and know like a few of the lines in Spanish of the chorus. And then you could be fine because like he can speak enough Spanish to like sing. So like, if you can be a real musician in this world, like you're still going to get laid. I mean, or whatever that means to you. But like, he'll be able to find a bed, like not just that way, but like a place to live and like a meal and like be able to live in a hostel with a job or above a bar or something like that. So like being a human artist is still, it's still an intuitive thing. It's going to be impossible, I think, for people really to replace that with,
I mean, even just the fact that we can say now a human artist rather than distinguished from some other kind of artist.
Yeah, it makes
right.
it
But
more
think about
valuable.
that 10 years from now. God, who knows what the world's gonna be like 10 years from now. But I'm just saying, like,
there won't be time.
Devil's advocate, though, and question for Andreas here, but in terms of, I guess, human-made music versus AI-made music, what's your ratio at for this week? Like, how much human-made music have you listened to versus
I don't watch
AI-made
almost
music?
anyone else's content or listen to almost anyone else's music unless like a friend of mine's like, I just made this thing, I really like it if you watch it or listen to it. Like for the most part, I don't. And I think the system itself's made it harder for me to do. Like if I go into YouTube and I try to watch something, all the videos are terrible. It doesn't show me any of my friends' recommendations at all. So I just think there's nothing on at all anyway. So I just give up. And like when it comes to, I tend to listen to all the music I make myself anyway. I used to do that with like Logic and because I like to have like an artistically long 9-hour loop of the same music in the background while I'm working on something.
And everyone else wants to like murder you because they're like, haven't you heard that enough times?
I learned
we
that
get
my
it,
parents.
body count, we get it.
I'm not allowed to make any more like AI generated Wurlitzer organ music from the 20s without headphones.
You ever seen there's like an early Pink Floyd interview,
Trance,
like very early Pink Floyd. I think like maybe Adam Hart Mother time or something, and they're getting criticized by somebody for their electronic music being too easy. And they're like this is, then they say those words, they say electronic music, and they're like, and Pink Floyd is there having to defend what they're doing.
Oh right.
And it's like, and from today's perspective, you're like, that's all analog equipment. You're talking about like synthesizers and stuff, and the way that they were doing it, like we would never, like who would say that of Pink Floyd today? But at the time, it was like apparently a common criticism. It's some,
or arpeggiators were like the first AI. It almost feels like when they first started using arpeggiators to design melodies or bass lines. It's like, oh, you're just having the computer do all that, which I kind of do believe it. You are having the computer do all that.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, especially
if
like
you know how to arpeggiate, then it's like it is what it is. Like if I know what an arpeggio is, am I having? At some point, you can become a conductor. I think it's an interesting kind of music that we've kind of shied away from since radio because it costs a lot of money to get an orchestra together. But that used to be the thing, like get everyone together that knew all the different parts and then do this amazing thing that could not be done by a single person. Even swing bands, jazz bands, blues.
This is where I think the next step of music is headed. And I don't make prophecies, but this is one that I'll make. And that's that, like, the difference will be not, did you get the new Kanye album? Check out, what's your favorite track? Track 7? Yeah, I like track 3. That's like the conversation now when an artist release, like some kind of body of work. But I think the next evolution of that is going to be like, hey, dude, like once I got that Kanye album and I plugged it into my AI brain music system, like everything that I liked got a little bit better. And it's almost like this constant cumulative, collection
and
where
expansion packs.
Now your entire music collection becomes like your library that AI can pluck from. And then, it's like every album is like a DLC expansion pack.
Yeah, I think that will happen to an extent if human music becomes valuable again, and so we're waiting to see because right now we talk about Napster and Spotify and everything. I mean, they figured a way of giving artists like anything at all, which is almost nothing, but it's more than nothing, and therefore they've brought the value literally down of what an organic artist can do. And so it might not be, I mean, especially because there's so much art out there. Like they can train it on the radio and 60s music, 80s vinyls and everything. It's going to be hard, I think, to control art that way. To be able, like, they're already trying to say that, oh, well, we won't have a living painter's name be something you can use as a prompt. And yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, Jim. Sorry, David, about Jim Morrison. I was just thinking about this because I remember
David is Jim?
He is deep down.
That's my father's name. I was almost named Jim.
Jim Morrison talking about, is this when you talk about how he loves Pink Floyd?
No, this is about how he basically describes the future. It says it in the title, but the future of music, and it's prophetic, and it's pretty straightforward with like what happened. He basically predicts the DJ. So he's saying I can see one guy with like a bunch of like tapes, just doing like
disco.
Like doing
he predicts
stuff.
disco,
Yeah,
but he also there's like
disco, but electronic music. He's
when he got arrested in Florida, there was like a guy who I met who talked to him at that event and said that he had heard from him, like talk about music he listened to. That's where he heard about Pink Floyd because Jim Morrison told him he was listening to Pink Floyd at that time in like 1970 or something like that. I don't forget exactly when this is, but so like Jim Morrison was already listening to the beginnings of like that British electronic music scene. That was expanding already.
Sure. Yeah. He takes it from what had been. So he's talking about the different types of music that existed in America and how they kind of like became one thing. And then there's like a third thing that came out of that. And so he's describing like now, like what is that third thing going to be? And his description of it was basically like sampling. Like he was looking at the future of sampling.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what AI music is. It's mosaics of nano samples, really.
Have any of you guys heard of Tape Beatles before?
No.
So the Tape Beatles was a group that I had come across when I was looking into like who started sampling like back in the day. And the Tape Beatles were brought up, and it's weird because and they didn't necessarily invent sampling because, this is like 86.
Lloyd Dunn?
But these guys, it wasn't necessarily like music per se, but they would take all sorts of public domain works and like sample them and splice them together in really interesting ways. I don't know if you guys haven't heard of this, it's definitely worth looking into.
It was Cold Cuts, I believe, made the original sampling program that was free software that so people could just play around with samples and it really opened things up. And then a lot of what people produced with what they put together got shut down, in terms of being like, this is, my song, it's like,
I saw
I feel like AI is this. It's the next big sampling wave.
Sure. I just wanted to bring up this guy's name, Lloyd Dunn, because of Dumb and Dumber. It's Jim Carrey, and it's Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn. So this guy's Lloyd Dunn.
That's pretty funny.
He's 66.
I had a page open at some point. Britney Spears dance disease. So Britney Spears dancing all the time. I was like, why you all dancing all the time? And I was like, good for you, Britney. But she's saying she experienced irreversible nerve damage to her body during hospitalization in 2019 that led to it's painful for her to not move, and when I dance I do not feel pain, is what she says, right?
So she was Mickey Mouse Club, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
God, this sounds like
I can't
programming, dude.
I feel like I knew that a long time ago, and then it wasn't until I was rewatching Tracy Twyman's kind of expose on Mickey that I was like, oh yeah, that's real, that's her. Yeah, okay, yeah, I forgot. Anyway, whatever. Excuse my ignorance.
Speaking of like teen idols or whatever, I just last night watched a documentary about the death of Brittany Murphy, which I didn't know anything about really.
Really?
And that is some shit.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know how deep you want to go on that rabbit hole, but
yeah,
dude,
she just seemed to be. She became under the spell of this Svengali kind of guy. Her and her mom were both. It's funny. You go to his wiki page, and it's like his mother was a hypnotherapist, and so here's this guy, and it's just so completely obvious. Even people in the thing say that he hypnotized Brittany Murphy and her mother, and basically fed off of them. And he had his name was Simon Monjack, and he's this British guy, and then she dies of like severe anemia, and then he dies of the exact same thing, 6 months later, actually 153 days later, on May 23rd, which is his Shining premiere day, 30-year anniversary. So there's lots of stuff about that. And that guy, I don't know. I just watched it last night. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And to the fact that she was so iconic and like what was the 8 Mile, you know. So she dated Marshall Mathers, and I think I don't know, it just seemed like a weird sacrifice of some kind.
Weird, right? Who could be involved with that? I have no idea. Strange. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. But then it's also kind of like there's this element of is this a cover story with this guy or and his mom they bring his mom on, and she's just like, it's just a family of sociopaths, but they all seem to be acting in some way, and it's just creepy. These people are creepy.
Can I just say, Alex, when you say cover story, it's so loaded because immediately I'm thinking about the epidemic has just broke out on Clavius, and that's the cover story for what they've dug up on the moon.
They
and then
claim it's mole, but that's bullshit.
Right. But it's like that, the cover story thing. Like, we need a cover story.
Right, yeah.
And the way that's pitched, and the way that, like, Eyes Wide Shut, you have the cover story and how it's so meta, because then you have Epstein and all this, like the same guy that's in the newspaper in the movie is the guy that broke the Epstein story, and it's like, and then you're like, wait, is this a cover story? You know?
And oh shit, what was I just gonna say?
Dude, the warrants against him, they got like $500,000
Oh yeah,
from him.
He was interviewed. They were interviewed, him and her mother, on Larry King, and he's sitting there and he's like talking about her dead body, like, and being like, I heard this perfect body is sitting here. Do I want them to cut it up? Because justifying why he didn't want an autopsy. So it's like, what the? And how did people go? How did this happen? I don't know. It's just weird. Media. I don't know. That's it. Honestly, this is something that's in that long thing that I'm writing, and I'm writing about it, and so it's something I think about a lot. And that's talking about. Yeah, that's good to talk about too.
I remember seeing a documentary. I'm trying to remember what the name or even the director was, but it was about Brittany Murphy, and it blamed her untimely death on her knowing something about like a deep political, like anti-terrorism thing. Is this ringing any bells? I'm scouring my notes to find out where this was from.
I haven't heard of that, but
I feel like I remember that too.
It's such a weird story that it has generated a cottage industry of conspiracy theories and stuff. So wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, if you find that, bring it back.
But it seems more like case of like a paranormal, like, kind of negative entity kind of attachment.
The black mold thing. Yeah, that was the thought I had with the black mold, and the dude was super evil. But his whole association, also, like the people he was around, and I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into that because like we should talk about that at some point. But there's some interesting stuff about the people around that group of people. You wanted to say something about this major WTF Ryan O'Neal death on December 8th.
Yeah, Ryan O'Neal. He was the actor who played Barry in Barry Lyndon, Redmond Barry.
Yeah.
And so he died. He was 80 something. But the crazy thing that I found was that I go do a midpoint. The exact middle of his life was the day that this other actor, Patrick McGee, died, and he was the guy sitting there. They're sitting there together. He's the Chevalier, and Barry is his assistant. So that's a really deep, crazy example of the syncs that I find often.
I dig the background. Tarot card.
Barry Lyndon is one of the most under emphasized movies, and it's funny, like if you watch who's that guy who really popularized the idea of Kubrick faking the moon landings even more so than it already had been? What's that guy's name?
Jay Widener.
It's like Jay Widener in his presentation will be like, I always really laugh when he gets to the point where he's like, Kubrick was so bored doing Barry Lyndon that it's like he had to do The Shining just to have some excitement. He's just so bored, and then he treats it like he's like, I've never even seen this movie. Like it's just so boring, and it's like, dude, the cinematography in Barry Lyndon is freaking incredible.
You have to imagine how much cocaine he was on, because he's probably so excited it didn't matter. Is the other thing.
The other thing is that that was the movie he used as the moon lens for to capture the low light. Things like,
that's why he's doing that, because he wants you to see it for all kinds of reasons. Because it's all about like what's the principles that led to like painting in America, Thomas Paine's American Dream. Yeah. It's important.
Totally. Although Thomas Paine's American Dream never really came to fruition. But
this is
never-
the
we've
movie
never
I was
done
It
trying
real
to-
did for
Thomas
like
Paine.
6 families. Anyway,
Oh,
Thomas.
So the-
There's no Thomas here.
The tagline for this movie was "The Terror Within tells the alleged true story of how Brittany Murphy was caught up in a government plot against a national security whistleblower." So this one paints it as if she was involved in some like top secret, high level anti-terrorism thing, and that's what took her out. And it wasn't the mold, and it wasn't some other form of manipulation. I watched this, and even after it was over, I was like, I don't know if they even tried to like connect those dots. It was like this
Based.
lady that just wanted to be in a movie and also have Brittany Murphy in it and be like, I was in a movie with Brittany Murphy, maybe. I don't know, but
I did see
Well,
somebody
there- I
recently
did-
see Ayn Rand and Anne Frank were the same person, and I was like, I love conspiracy theories that integrate. Sorry, Alex.
Oh well, yeah. The one thing I loved about that Brittany Murphy documentary was that it showed all these clips from her movies and stuff. A lot of them I hadn't seen, and so you can see they're really, and they're using clips that like are meaningful. So it's like sync watching these films, and like one of them is like in her last movie, or one of her last movies, which is called Across the Hall, which is all about her like entering into this hotel room, and like it's all based in this apartment or something. But and the guy's saying like, you will be joining. It's just basically talking about her death, like a month.
Oh, look
before
at
it
that
happened.
room key. What does that room key remind you of?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely, it's
Yeah.
total The Shining vibes in there.
I
And,
got one of those in the mail from Paranoid American.
oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh nice, yeah. I've got an ornament from Lauren Coleman that he sent me.
RFK was on Epstein's Lolita Express twice, at least, right? You said something about this, Crypto. 3 days after 666 months had elapsed since RFK Sr.'s assassination, and
Right.
why I posted the Epstein story.
Yeah. I was looking forward to that 666 months after RFK's death a few months ago, and I kind of missed it when it happened. But then they put that story out, and it was 3 days after that.
It was in '93. It was twice with his wife and kids that he
Right.
rode on the plane. The island did not exist at that time. I think it's really interesting that
Fossil
the one
hunt.
guy in politics who's calling for those names of flight logs to be released, that he's the one. Oh, finally, you guys are going to emphasize. Oh, somebody, like, these are like,
Somebody knew
mainstream
him.
outlets. Some of it's just like New York Post or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, wow, you're talking about it again. Like, wow, usually this is just shit you see
Glad
on
you
Twitter
brought
from
that
the
up.
Yeah,
schizo
that's what I
shit.
thought.
And now they're going to bring it up because our RFK, because he said it himself, too. It's not like anyone found the dirt and like, it's like, and it's just, I don't know, man.
I am
it's so
deeply
over the top.
suspect of
I
their
did see Spun,
betrayal.
and it was a good movie. Yeah, I think RFK Jr. Is in like a lot of positions. We're seeing people that were on like planes that didn't want to be there. That was the Trump story. It was like, yeah, I saw more than I wanted to see also. And so people trying to bring it up all of a sudden, perfect. It's perfect.
Well,
'cause
But there is the matter that he's sort of all of a sudden just gung ho Israel. So
what else is he gonna do? He's a Kennedy.
Sure,
isn't he?
although
And he was like, of all the people to be blackmailed, would a guy that's a known sex, like kind of a philanderer,
right.
he's got some shady stuff in his past. As much
Oh,
as
in
I
his
love
past, it's no secret. His whole thing is about, it's like he's kind of like a Russell Brand in a way, except he's not as over the top ridiculous. He's just like he did a lot of drugs for a lot of years, and it's been no secret.
Sure, yeah.
And he's a recovered addict, and so
Right.
like, and what went on in his life it's one of those things. It's like that Dave
For
Chappelle
twice
bit when he talks about Donald Trump leaving the house, like he has that allegory where he's like, I know what's going on in that house because I just walked out of it. And it's like, what you think is going on is exactly what's going on. And it's like, and of course you want to, those people that are willing to do that, they should be listened to. So, but yeah, it's a whole thing, man.
Speaking of Brittany Murphy, this was a book I found through Alex. What was this about?
Oh, well, it says it right there. I haven't read it. I just found it at the thrift store, and I'm gonna read it eventually. But it's a very scholarly kind of sober take of like, this is bad, and it's not like, I don't think it's like it's not like a Christian thing or anything. It's just like
soap
Yeah,
opera
this is
control.
This is completely altering our reality. It's kind of a McLuhan take almost.
Well, you
but
say
more
television,
longer
that's happening. We're witnessing that happening right
Yeah.
now. Television is becoming less and less relevant, and that's the thing with the baby boomers and shit. It's like there's very little actual, like, something that isn't sanctioned. Like,
but the Bernaysian product of a soap opera, which is a radio thing that went through television and will become internet, is already still happening on the internet, right? You've got, was it like over 600,000 YouTubers that were purchased to the digital media studio by Walt Disney and sold, like whole YouTube swarms of social media starlets and stars, Twitch and everything else. They're all built around this idea of, we need something that people like that we can associate with our soap company or whatever that becomes in the future. Right. And so we see that all the time. We're seeing sponsored things. This show should eventually be sponsored by some sort of soap by Tyler Durden.
It started with Queen for a Day. You guys know about? Did we talk about that before a long time ago? I think Queen for a Day.
Of Natalie Wood dying. Queen for a Day.
Queen for a Day was a show. You might want to put show. There it is. Oh, it comes right up. I think. Yeah, this guy. So this was an infomercial show where there's all these products, and these women would these contestants, whoever had the saddest story got like an applause meter to determine who had the saddest story, and then they became Queen for a Day. And the amount of shit that they gave, like the products that they gave these women, it's unfreaking believable. You're talking, cars and every new, what at the time was like really like, wow, look at that refrigerator, but it was just, it's so over the top. I highly recommend that show. It's because it's hilarious.
Oh my God, you were a vacuum, a Hoover vacuum. Yeah, that sounds pretty.
But it's not like it's like one woman gets everything, and then the rest of them are just like, oh, it's like Squid Game. They're just, oh, sorry.
That's pretty brilliant.
Wait, how many kids did you say you lost? Only 7? Sorry, Bertha.
Yeah. It's like that. It's really like that. It's like, oh, your kid has cerebral palsy, and your other one died, and your husband's dead, and da-da-da. And it was like, oh shit, you got it.
This seems like important. Natalie Wood and Kissinger. I thought that was interesting. The connection.
Oh, is there connection?
42 years between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kissinger died 42 years after Natalie Wood. I just thought that was a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like interesting. Like, because there wasn't enough.
And that was 81, so that was right before you were born, David.
Yeah. Itty bitty 666 Argentinian Malay.
He won. And he immediately went to kneel at Bill Clinton's feet.
So wait a minute, Alex. We can't say the thing because it's saved for your book about Musk.
Which thing? I mean,
I can't say it. I don't want to pressure you into it either if you don't want to say it.
I don't want to give too much away.
Okay, never mind.
I think I said before. Okay, fine.
Yeah, move on.
All right. Well, you can say it if you want, but I have the same birthday as Terrence McKenna and LSD. Do with that info as you will, says Alex. That's pretty sweet.
What a pretentious knob he is.
Terrence McKenna? Yeah, I agree. No. Britney Spears, again, 237
you're going deep
days
here.
after the baptism of William Shakespeare. Well, because it all tied into what I was thinking about. I was like, oh, Britney Spears and then Shakespeare is so important because what is Shakespeare? Is it real? And Shakes its spear. That's what it's all about. It's about like theater and MKUltra and Tavistock and
I don't know much more about than you do, but that was a good one. Yeah, I love when I get the really, really deeply long time spans that works out. So it's 153,000 minus 237 that Britney Spears was born. And then that's right where David was born. So Britney Spears is only a few days older than David. That's cool.
Dude, and Vesica Piscis, bro, like with the 153 to 613, it's just everywhere.
All tying together. It's all tying.
This is my girlfriend Vesica. She's a Pisces.
Dude, honestly, if you ever do that, I might slap you, but that's okay. Some of the reasons why unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics blow my mind. Dirac predicted antimatter just because he was able to use formulas. Like, well, with this formula, then it would make sense that there would have to be this else. And then they did the test, and they're like, oh, that worked. Emmy Noether, she did the Noether's theorem, which is, again, I think we talked earlier about how that's useful for sound waves, Murray Gell-Mann, similarly, quark model. He kind of foresaw the quark model in the 1950s and 60s. All using just like geometry and angles. Yeah, that was good. How about skipping ahead? There was something I wanted to do, which was on. We don't need to do that. Where's the Brian Froud comics. They're doing Froud fairies. They're making a series out of Brian Froud's fairies.
I don't know who that is.
You don't know about this one? Okay, so fairies is like, if you've ever seen Labyrinth or any of that stuff, it's based on the artwork of Brian Froud.
You're already familiar with it. You just don't know it.
Okay. Yeah. So this dude Froud did all the art, inspired the characters that they built, because like we don't want to look like Muppets, we want to look like Froud's work. And
that Green Man painting, Jesus.
Yeah, which is on the cover of his book Angels, which I think I put it here. Where did I put the PDF though? Because I have that open somewhere. There we go. Boom. So you can borrow this book from archive.org and check it out. And so I'll just show a couple of the pictures from it. But he invented kind of like this idea of the fairies. And so the way the book works is on one side are the fairies, and on the other side of the book are like the
gnomes and shit.
Well, they're like, I guess they're good fairies and dark fairies is the way to look at it, right? But it starts the other direction through too. I think I froze it because it's such a big book.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but so they're gonna make a show out of this. And it's gonna be.
But it's Disney though, then, right? Because it says Jim Henson, but didn't Disney buy Jim Henson? Isn't that what happened?
They did, but I don't know what's going on because I think so because Disney didn't have Disney Plus for a while when they made the Henson Dark Crystal prequel, which is why Netflix did it. But I don't think Netflix gets to use Jim Henson anymore. So I'm pretty sure it's all gonna be. It's gonna be Disney that's doing the show. But Disney's doing some dark shows, and I can see this being kind of like Loki or anything else like that.
Well, they can kind of get away with it, just being like
mischievous, shape-shifting hobgoblins, Puck, right?
Disney has done so much adult content that's not presented as Disney, but it's still technically, ultimately Disney, right? That like they didn't always do it under their name. So like, Touchstone and Miramax are all Disney, right? So what's the difference really? I guess at this point they'll just put the name on it and people react to it differently.
What the agenda will be like. So at this point, like you can kind of, if you have a kids account, you can screen out Touchstone from the Disney Plus. Basically, that's where they're at. But a lot of what is ever since Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney's been doing the more interesting, big budget Touchstone films as Disney films because they're at this point they're kind of the same. But they created, Eisner created Touchstone because he wasn't sure he wanted the Disney brand forever. They were thinking they might just break up Disney into a number of other smaller companies, and then they realized there was enough value to the name Disney that they could keep using it, right?
When they would use that to distance certain movies too, because they for example put like Nightmare Before Christmas and they put Roger Rabbit on Touchstone, but then after Nightmare Before Christmas made enough money, they like brought it into like the main Disney bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. After they determined that it was acceptable enough too, because they probably didn't want to be too risky about that, or risque, I should say.
Is that? Hold on a second. Where's my? Trying to find it. Where did it go? There it is.
Speaking of Muppets.
Good timing.
Hey, how's it going? There we go.
Media playing games, twisting tails left and right. Puppet strings tangling. There's one puppet whose strings are untied.
Can everybody sing?
The puppet
Sam Newsman. The most trusted puppet in news without all the fuss. Telling the truth.
He's just a newsman. The puppet Sam.
Yes, that's right. It is a Tuesday. A random Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well. Listen, I've been listening to the show for quite a while, and the thing that you brought up that comes to my head right away is unicorn. Yes, of course, and that's what I am. A real media puppet unicorn who actually has a real broadcast show every Saturday morning. That's right. Every Saturday morning is where you can find me online at Sam Newsman. I'm also on the radio. Less an actual radio broadcasting. Yes, a real everybody's always saying, hey, why don't you have a podcast? I'm like, well, hey, why don't you have a real broadcast and actually go over how about that? Well, so a real radio microphone, yes, on an FM signal every single Saturday, coast to coast around the world. And of course, we are the number 3 best local morning radio show in Virginia, voted by the Richmond Times-Dispatch. So I figured we're talking about unicorns. I might as well just start there. How are you guys doing? You guys are doing well?
Pretty great. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic for a random Tuesday. Today is December the 12th, so of course I did the 12 days of Christmas.
Nice.
For my song. I'm doing a Christmas song every day. We're calling it 2-a-days. I do a newsreel every single day, talking about the news, but during the holiday season, I am singing songs as well. So that is something that we are doing. Now, of course, I did have something I did want to talk to you guys about. Now, Andreas, you have been doing all of this AI art. We were talking about AI music. And today, hold on, let me pull this up here. Where is it? Stupid ads. X, get out of there. Get out of there. Okay, all right. So here's an article that I said, a surge in fake AI generated photos is eroding public trust in information and online. So as we're moving, this is from the
What
UK.
public trust?
Yeah, right.
A rise in fake news photos generated by AI is eroding public trust in online information. Thousands of internet users are being duped into sharing bogus images, from Prince William and Harry embracing at the coronation to fake mugshots of Donald Trump. Now, of course, as we're moving into 2024, this is an election season. Andreas, you have been fluent with all of this AI stuff. Is there something that we need to be worried about over the next 12 months? Or what are we going to be? Are we going to be able to believe what we see?
I mean, of course, I don't think we ever could believe what we could. Like, I could show you thousands of examples for the last 100 years. I could show you hundreds of thousands of examples of doctored photos in every newspaper you've ever read, and not just National Enquirer. So
we're not talking about Earth and the Moon. I'm talking about new AI stuff.
No, I mean, like even Stalin removing his friend from a picture. Like, this goes back forever. People just framing a picture so it looks like there's a lot more people at a political stadium than there are. We've always had propaganda pervert truth the way people are seeing it. So what I think is kind of nice now is that there's a suspension of disbelief and then there's a suspension of belief, right? So we're going to get to a point where we say it doesn't really matter because this is what I'm seeing. And we're also going to see people say, well, it doesn't really matter because nothing you see can be proven to be true. So I don't think anyone's going to be as emotionally affected. I mean, at some point soon, people will be less emotionally affected by media because the first thought they'll have to say is this even true? And that's going to disarm a lot, I think. The other thing is that with media, we'll be able to make more media that makes us feel effectively the way we want to feel. And so it's going to become irrelevant what's really true because you'll see, Trump with manga characters on a unicorn, and that'll make you feel good. And you'll see RFK, on a unicorn or on a dinosaur or something. And like those kinds of visuals will matter more.
On a donkey entering Jerusalem.
Right.
There we
go. And the thing is but that's nothing new because like a few years ago, people would have just videos of wolves right before the election. They're like, do you really want those wolves in government paid for by the other party, and so it's not like we're doing anything that different.
We might be moving into a period like back towards like before television where it didn't matter what a president looked like. So it's like now in the same way, it doesn't matter what it looks like, but it matters how it's like he presents as an idea and it's like memed and so forth. So doesn't matter that Trump is weirdly huge and rotund and whatever. It's just that he's there.
Perfect golden ratio. Have you ever done the math on his?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all.
I just want to know what my president's bored ape looks like.
Right, David. What about discernment? Is discernment something we should just throw out the window now that AI is, I guess, taking over? Can we still use discernment even in an AI?
Well, if I go to rob a bank now, I am going to have an extra digit attached to my hand, just like a ring, just so when they look at the photos later or the footage or whatever, I'll just be like, that's fucking AI, look at my hand, so you just need to make things look more like AI and you can get away with a lot, you know, because the mask thing isn't working anymore. It used to be that they said you had to wear a mask to enter a bank, and now they're like, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, you know, because like it was like before the COVID hysteria. Had I have gone into a bank wearing a mask, they would have fucking tackled me immediately. Like, what are you doing, bro? You can't do that. Now then it became mandatory, and now it's not, you know. So things go through change over time, you know. So yeah.
Well, but if
Also
if I am
stories.
robbing, but if I am robbing a bank, I sure would make sure that I want to have a T-shirt, and that T-shirt would have to be coming from Paranoid America. So if I am going to rob a bank with six fingers, Paranoid, what is the best T-shirt I should be wearing?
It would probably be the adrenochrome shirt, because then they're not allowed to show your footage on TV or social media without getting themselves banned.
Just blur you out. They'll blur you out.
Correct.
That's
yeah.
fair.
There you go. Like, we don't know what he's wearing because we're blurring out his shirt too. So
Report a man if you see him wearing a shirt. We can't show you what's on the shirt because that's more offensive than the crime that he was caught committing.
And we'd have to pay for the M.
Oh
for
my
this
God.
privilege. I think though, like 100 years ago, people used to not see and hear the news. They would get stories told about people, and we're just going right back to that. So, you know, every once in a while you'd have a politician come to your town to do that circuit, and you get to go to the town hall meeting and you get to see them. But there's already been stories about them that you've heard. And the idea that there weren't comics drawn of Boss Tweed or something that were not real photorealistic, that's ridiculous. I mean, the whole world was run by illiterate people looking at comics, right? Like a lot of people see the picture in the newspaper of an animation looking of this giant fat guy taking all the money from these poor Irishmen coming to New York, and then that would affect the status quo. So we've always been emotionally driven by art.
There is a video that I have seen of Hillary Clinton from 9/11 2016, not where she fell, but that was aired on that day, where she talks about Pepe the frog, and she says that frog is a white supremacist, that frog is racist or whatever. I remember that, but I
Right
cannot
before she
find
fell,
that. Yeah, I cannot find that video for the life of me. I swear to God I saw it. I know that it exists. I doubt it was AI. I think it was aired on television. But what was incredible about that is that point where you had something that was just an internet meme had actually made it, like there was people celebrating that it's gotten to that point. I don't remember what politician it was.
It's this one here. She says it, you know.
It wasn't at a podium. It was in an interview. She may have said more than once. So
Yeah.
So she mentions Pepe here.
Yeah, she talked about it. She said he was evil. You know, she's an evil, racist, white supremacist frog or something.
Okay,
like
she
that.
probably did it more than once, but it was also the symbolism of that was really out of
She
control.
got super sick and she fell. Yeah.
Who was the politician there was a rumor going around that they had sex with farm animals, and it was way before way before the internet. But they brought it up themselves. And they went to deny it, and they brought it up, and it was the worst thing for their campaign, because as soon as they did that, people were visualizing them with the farm animals. Now we've gotten to a point where it's like that was an issue in the past or something. As soon as you can represent somebody with something, it doesn't matter if it's real or not on a certain level, because like Andreas is saying, like it's already been implanted. Like you're already looking at it. Oh, is it unreal? Is it not? Like
it goes back to the whole idea that if you just keep repeating a lie, eventually everyone will believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Totally.
Right? So if you just keep seeing fake images, you keep seeing fake AI images, eventually you're just going to believe that they're all real, I guess.
Well,
right.
Like,
it doesn't matter. In people's heads.
It doesn't matter what's real as much as you think it does. Because on one hand, you can make things true by doing them. Like if a road doesn't exist that's straight, you can pave it. And if people drive down it after a few generations, that's like ingrained. But the other thing is, if they're not meeting you in real life, if they're not interacting with you in real life, they don't have any experience with you in real life. The only experience they have with you is the one where they heard that you had this farm animal thing as a politician. And that becomes more legitimate than what's real, because that's the only thing you have a feeling about. And more people are building their entire reality based on what they feel, what they experience through a virtual reality. It really will start to matter far more than what's true, because what's true will be a small belief held by a limited, insular, esoteric elite, right? They're the only ones who know what's true. And it'll seem so bizarre what's true, right? Because it's not what people are experiencing. So people won't care. They will only care about what they're feeling, right? I know that sounds like really, like postmodernist and everything else, but we're living in a world now where you're going to be constantly seeing what people want you to see, and you're very seldom going to see what people don't want you to see. So you're going to have to start to imagine the issues, the errors, the glitches, and everything else in between, right?
Evan Rachel Wood has that new documentary, Phoenix Rising, about the Marilyn Manson case, and like that whole thing, like I feel like that's an example where it almost verges on kind of like an AI, like virtual reality deal, because you're like, there's the amount of how it's trying, like how it triggers emotion in a strategic way, you know, and that's really what we're talking about, is people getting, you know, affected by a representation of something and treating that representation as though it's the thing it's pointing to, you know.
Well, when it comes to triggering people, I would say that nothing triggers anybody more than when you talk about Jim Morrison. So we were talking about Jim Morrison a little bit earlier. Of course, I'm going to throw you the ultimate curveball when it comes to conspiracies. And that is, of course, that Jim Morrison is Rush Limbaugh. That's it. Jim Morrison being Rush Limbaugh. Of course, this goes back to the idea, if you look at Jim Morrison and you look at who his father is and his connections to naval intelligence during the CIA and during World War II, also the Gulf of Tonkin, I believe, the Bay of Pigs, all that jazz.
You know, the part that gets, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Sam. I have to, though, because it drives me nuts, is that every time I hear people talking about this, for the most part, they don't talk about what his dad actually did. So they'll talk about, yeah, he was a naval officer, but he went against orders in the Gulf of Tonkin, which was a false flag, which we knew years later was a false flag. One of our ships got hit by one of our own mines, and we used it as an excuse to do things that we wanted to do anyway. And Jim Morrison's dad did not go with the program, even though he was in charge. He was like top guy on the biggest warship in the Gulf of Tonkin. And the story goes is they said, "We know who your son is. Look out," you know. And do you think that when they threaten that they don't follow through? Just saying, you know.
Well, listen, that is a very, very astute observation. I'm glad you brought that up, because no one does bring up that story, even though there is all these weird oddball connections. Now, I'm not saying that, of course, Rush Limbaugh is Jim Morrison or that Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. I just thought it was very interesting. It just came across my mind, if you will. So I figured I would just drop that little nugget.
I got
Tupac is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
some friends that have there's a YouTube channel, you know, Winston Churchill is Aleister Crowley.
There you
go. Madame Blavatsky is Queen Victoria.
Yeah.
Neil Armstrong is Yuri Gagarin.
That one's probably true.
Maybe there's some more I think they've got. But
whatever the case, they might as well be true. And I think maybe that kind of speaks to what Andreas is talking about. It's like you've made that association for all intents and purposes. It's
you're never going to meet Jim Morrison. You're never going to meet Rush Limbaugh. You now know that Rush Limbaugh is Jim Morrison in your head. That's the only thing that matters. And if you build your whole life around that and you affect other people and enough people believe that, then you've created a world that is affected by this idea. And that idea no longer has anything. Used to be you get ideas from practice, but we don't always do that now. We virtualize ideas.
Right. And the thing with Jim Morrison, too, is that the story was that he pulled his dick out in Miami, but there's never been any photographic evidence of that. It was a question of, like, he wrote
but you know the kind of dudes he runs with.
Does he not have a dick?
LBJ whipped out Jumbo. Why not Jimmy?
He was wearing boxers, and he did kind of this little shuffle thing, but it was what he said along with it was like, you want to see it, implying he was showing it to them. And it was an example of people saying what they saw. He knew that if he said that this is what it is, everyone's going to leave the concert and want to tell people, "Oh yeah, I saw it. And it's kind of like it's artistic, because he had just gone to the Living Theater for the first time. So he had just witnessed the Living Theater when it was in its heyday, you know, like, because those are the same people who were behind Hair, right? So it's like they would be nude in their performances and stuff, and they'd like walk through the crowd covering the absolute bare minimum of what was technically legal, and they would repeat different lines that were meaningful, of like, why am I ashamed of what's most natural, and things like that. And like, so he was really impacted by the Living Theater. It's right after that he went and he did that, but it was kind of you know, he was rocking the boat a little bit, and he was high as hell on acid. I mean, you can see it in the footage of when he got arrested. I mean, look at his fucking face. That looks like got to be at least 10 hits of 25 he's taking. I don't know.
Also, let's not forget that Ice Spice is Stanley Kubrick too.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the way I think about it, there's sort of the being John Malkovich, like that's sort of the whole, like everybody, we are all the same kind of. It's all the same kind of interconnected thing, and we're all different kind of expressions of the same thing. And but there's, you know, there's something to the whole doppelganger thing. It's a real phenomenon that I can't really explain. So I'm gonna just stop it there.
Well, there's like September 11th. I was supposed to say September 11th is a great example because we went to Iraq, and it's like emotionally, it doesn't really have anything to do with itself. But I'm sorry. In terms of physics, it has nothing to do with itself. But emotionally, it has everything to do with September 11th. Because if you can supplant something, change the meaning of it, lead people to think it's about something else, you know, and so it's, even though it's not true that they have anything to do with each other, they end up having to do with each other because you can take that energy and you can turn it into what you want it to, and that's what the
right.
did.
Well, they did it with the anthrax. So they had the anthrax delivered to certain politicians, and then it turned out that anthrax came from Fort Detrick. So like, but we'd already done our reaction to that, and then it was like, it's like, you know, there'll be something in the headlines. There's some article that comes out, turns out it's full of shit, and then they take it back on page 20, you know, a month later in the back, you know, nobody sees it. It doesn't matter then.
No, of course not. But you know, when it does come to September 11th, nothing is as appropriate as the execution of the amazing demolition of Building 7. Yes, that's right. Building 7, which was
Building
demolished
7 achieved Bhakti.
on schedule. Even though they were talking about it about 20 minutes before it even happened. Anyways, guys, listen, I'm going to head out of here. I might be around tomorrow evening. If I don't see you guys until next week, I will be around. It is the holiday season. It is the holiday season. Happy Hanukkah, of course.
Happy Kwanzaa, yeah.
Yes, yep. Rana Hana Kwanzmas, I guess. Let's make sure we get everybody in there.
Indeed.
But yeah, so make sure that all of you guys have a wonderful holiday season. And like I said, Andreas, I shall be back tomorrow night if I can make it.
Very good.
And of course, you can find me everywhere at Sam Newsman, all over social media, every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time, for, of course, the only award-winning radio show dedicated to the magic and nostalgia of Saturday morning, hosted by me, a real media puppet. From the most trusted puppet reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman. And hit the music.
He knows the truth. Sam Newsman, the perfect reporter of news.
His new show isn't produced by Disney, is it? With the whole Muppet thing?
You never know. Could happen. It could happen. Well, we're pretty close to we're at the 2-hour mark. Is there anything else you guys wanted to make sure we cover? I did the Sam Newsman.
I posted one last little link there just because anytime John Malkovich comes up now, this is the first thing that comes on my mind is a short story by Terry Southern. It's in this collection of stories called Red Dirt Marijuana, but the story in particular is called Blood of a Wig, and this is where they basically go to a schizophrenia ward and they sneak in and they take the blood of one of the schizophrenic patients and they use it for, you know, recreational purposes. But through this, he realizes that they're able to almost absorb some of the life experiences of the unwitting donor, so to speak. So in one of these, the premises is that not only does he get high off of this guy's blood, but he also understands what it's like to be Asian because he takes it from this Asian schizophrenic guy. But he actually feels the true life experience of these people. And I always thought that this was like one of the prototypical stories of like a being John Malkovich.
Nice.
Yeah, but isn't it a little heart condition with Bob Hoskins too? And was that Denzel Washington, where he's like the racist cop who gets a heart transplant, but then like
I think this predates
that guy
it, though.
whose heart it was is like in him? Oh yeah,
I think this
The
predates
Dick
it.
Cheney movie does a thing like that where the narrator is the guy that died and had his heart given to Dick Cheney, played by Matt
Christian
Damon.
Bale.
Yeah, Dick
Isn't
Cheney.
Is there a Bob
Yeah,
Hoskins, Dick Cheney,
Batman.
strange attraction, synchronicity thing? I don't know.
probably.
Whatever.
Mind reading, we'll do that next time. But yeah, let's go to Paranoid American. You've got a bunch of stuff that's happening right now. Make sure that people can know. Because I know, do you have even one more of these? Really?
oh yeah, the stickers, they just popped up right above that. I just dropped like 20 sticker
Ooh.
sheets. Not even kidding. I was waiting for them
Ooh.
to come for months, and they finally all came.
All these are great.
So this is just one of the 20 that are on there. Yeah, we got the Hunter
Oh,
Biden
wow.
meth mouth sticker sheet.
Ooh, nice.
Great for your skateboards and for your
Yep,
windows.
this
and
one's
for your-
got holographic hearts on it. So if you
you're
ever
taking
want
like a
that John
psychology
Wayne Gacy,
class, you know, or like these are great. Yeah.
Wow.
And then this is a black and white set too.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And I've got a Heaven's Gate set. I've got a Waco set. I've got I got so many. There's a bunch of cryptid sets. There's a Project Montauk mind control set there. It's got the butterfly. It's got the Montauk monster.
Oh, it's adorable.
It's got Camp Hero with the little satellite on top. Like if you know what you're looking at, it's there. I think that's a DMT molecule.
That's pretty
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that
make
sticker alone is worth it.
Yeah.
That's the thing with some of these packs. You look at like a couple of stickers, you're like, dude, it's totally worth it.
Dude,
Glad
Time
this thing
Samplers issue 1. You're gonna want to read this one. Check this out, guys. Get yourself some Paranoid American merch, and then also, of course, the shirts. Shirts are super good. He's right. Where was the shirts? Just go to shop. Probably easiest. Clothing.
Pop top sticker.
Clothing. Yeah, he's got some pretty epic shirts. I kind of like this one. It's kind of chill.
This is the one I'd rob a bank in if you were gonna do it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Epic. And then also go to the syncbook.com where you can click on David Plate's videos right here, Syncflix, and then you can find all the work he's doing. But also, if you go to MKUltrasound on Twitter, he's been putting the movies up directly, and if you click on highlights, you can see a list of the movies up right here.
Hey, somebody mentioned Spun in the comments. I just recently put up this right there, actually. The blonde.
Snap! Really?
Yeah, so The Curse of Blondie. And so Debbie Harry's in Spun with what's the guy's name? I can't remember.
John Leguizamo?
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke is who I was thinking of. Yeah, who was actually Evan Rachel Wood's first boyfriend. I started watching that show, Phoenix Rising. I'm like, I'm wondering if they're going to mention that, because when she first made the accusations, I thought she was talking about Mickey Rourke, and then I was like, oh, okay. But anyway, yeah. So based on the truth, yeah, this is a good sync, and this one in particular, I really like the volume in the film between the vocals. Yeah, you might want to be careful for copyright. And also there might be nudity and stuff too.
It's a little bit.
I don't know.
There's a couple kidnapping scenes. Yeah, I like.
Yeah.
What's too much? What's really is
what
too
is
much?
too much?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ask YouTube. What's too much for YouTube is not the same as too much for us.
Gosh, There's naked artwork all around the Vatican. Is all I'm saying. So
it's everywhere. It's global.
But yeah, guys, make sure you're following MKUltrasound, and also make sure you're following Crypto Kubrology as well as Paranoid America. Paranoid American's account, Paranoid America. But Crypto Kubrology, he's been putting up all kinds of numbers all the time, and if you start putting them in, you're going to start realizing they're all important.
Yeah. Today is 666 months since Rosemary's Baby released. Exactly. Actually, 12/12.
I just recently saw the picture of Kate Middleton wearing the shirt with the doilies. That's like, have you seen this one? It's like identical.
Yes, I think I have. I'm glad you reminded me of that.
If you haven't seen, I hope we can dig it up.
Hey, have you guys ever seen Whatever Happened to Rosemary's Baby, the made-for-TV sequel with Patty Duke? So Patty Duke, Valley of the Dolls, she plays Rosemary Woodhouse in the sequel, and the only two people that are in it are the Cassavetes. So, they are they Cassavetes in the movie. I forget, because Cassavetes is the actual actor. But anyway, there's like a disco scene. It's the older couple from
Weird.
Rosemary's Baby, or like in this. Yeah, whatever happened to Rosemary's? Oh, look what's happened to Rosemary's Baby. Excuse me, sorry, stand reflected.
But
But
Baby Jane.
Could be
yeah,
Mandela
totally.
effect. You don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's pretty much.
Didn't they make a remake of a TV show remake of Rosemary's Baby like a few years ago? I didn't see it. But
Yes,
they did.
they did.
Oh
They did.
man,
Yeah.
it's a come on the doily.
Look
The
at
doily.
Oh, that's so perfect.
That's crazy.
That's
Wow.
pretty brutal. Everybody go to tartarynova.com and
And-
like
and
and subscribe and share.
I think that scene where she's wearing that was when in real life she found out that she was pregnant while they were filming it, and she didn't know if it was Woody Allen or Frank Sinatra's baby, and she was like crying, and they like filmed the scene to take advantage of the fact that she was crying to like make it more realistic or whatever. They're
Don't
like,
let a
"No,
good
we're shooting
tragedy
this
go to
and shit."
waste.
Yeah. That's the story supposedly.
See you guys next time.
Hello. Welcome to the Exertus.